And now you've lost it. That's the Camilla Tominey Show, a politics show that's fearless. No, let me finish my question if you don't mind, because it is my show. Sundays at 9:30, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up? About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Good morning, it's 9:30 on Wednesday the 27th of May, live across the UK, Britain's Newsroom with Andrew Pearce and Nana Akua.
Yes, good morning. Now, Blair's Labour reset. So Tony Blair launches a scathing attack on the government, saying that there's no coherent plan for the country. Quite a change from this 4 years ago.
Keir Starmer has shown strength, determination and intelligence in setting Labour back on a winning path.
And some breaking and pretty unwelcome news, I'm afraid. Energy bills will surge by more than £220 from July. The Shadow Energy Secretary, Claire Coutinho, spoke to GB News earlier.
You can't nationalise whilst you're shutting down the North Sea. You can't have AI whilst Ed Miliband's making your electricity more and more expensive.
The May heat record has been smashed. Unprecedented heat gripped Britain for a second day. Today, thunderstorms may sweep the nation.
And urgent new open watering warnings are issued as 5 youngsters drowned during the hot weather.
Also breaking this morning, police are investigating the case of a fire at a Jewish supermarket in Golders Green. We'll be bringing you the latest.
And reform deportation rift, a war of words erupts between Zia Youssef and Robert Jenrick on migration. We'll be looking at the details.
And I want people to have a reliable, comfortable, affordable and high-quality service, and that will be the benchmark by which I will judge myself.
A rail signal revolution. Labour plans to overhaul Wi-Fi services on trains across Britain within months.
With Moonbase, Artemis astronauts will stay longer, explore farther, and conduct the kinds of science that advances exploration itself.
There's a moon mission race, America racing with China to put humans back on the moon as NASA unveils plans for a permanent base.
And the missing earpiece mystery plaguing Britain's newsroom has been solved, and we've finally found the culprit.
Andrew Pearce, better anyway. I have just been putting my earpiece on, and I noticed recently that my earpiece in America didn't fit me brilliantly, but I just thought, well, you know, turned out that I've been wearing your earpiece in America.
Tony Blair has dropped a bomb right under the Labour Party, and we're delighted to say his policy director is joining us in the studio to talk about it. I mean, it's attacked every single element of Keir Starmer's government.
But I don't think that the Labour Party are going to listen to him. And
they should.
I think they should, because what he is saying, actually, I think is common sense. I think it crosses party lines, but for some odd reason, the Labour Party want to carry on in a direction that nobody wants to go. Nobody wants the net zero thing. It's not working. We've got problems with energy costs already. You hear the price cap has already gone up. We'll be paying more for that as well. Andrew, I've got to ask, whose earpiece are you wearing then? Because Beverly's got yours. She's taken it to America.
Yours.
Oh, you can't, because mine is actually brown. You would notice. It matches my ear, Andrew.
Well, there we are. The mystery of the earpiece.
Right, well, listen, let's hear your thoughts, your comments at gbnews.com/your say. But first, your 60-second update with Tatiana Sanchez.
Thank you very much and good morning. The top story. So Tony Blair has accused Sir Keir Starmer of having no plan to fix Britain as he launched an attack on the Labour leader's record in office with a 5,700-word essay. The former Prime Minister argued the government needs a fundamental reset after retreating into a left-wing comfort zone. The UK record for the hottest May Day has been broken for a second day running as parts of London surpassed 35 degrees. That is as a body was found in a search for a 12-year-old boy who went missing while swimming in a river. The boy was with his friends when he got into difficulty in the River Ribble in Lancashire around 2 o'clock yesterday afternoon. And millions of households are facing another hike in their bills this summer. Ofgem confirming the price cap will rise again from the 1st of July, with gas bills jumping by 24% as the average household faces paying around £18 a month extra. That is a 13% hike. Those are the latest headlines for now. More in half an hour.
Tune in to GB News Radio wherever you are. Online, on DAB digital radio, on TuneIn, on Radio Player, on Nation Player and on your smart speaker. Just say, play GB News.
Hello, welcome. This is Britain's Newsroom live across the UK on GB News with Andrew Pearce. What a treat, Nana Requeer.
Yeah, thank you. Right, well, big story this morning. It's pretty much on nearly all the front pages. So Tony Blair has warned that Labour against forcing out Sir Keir Starmer without having a proper policy agenda to follow him as he launches a scathing criticism of the government's time in office.
It's a 6,000-word essay, virtually. He says Labour was lacking a project and was playing with the future of the country. Pretty damning.
Yes, and as I said, it dominates the front pages this morning. Let's take a look on the front of the Daily Mail. That reports that Tony Blair has blasted Labour's lurch to the left.
The Independent says why Labour must return to the radical centre to reverse Britain's decline.
Similarly, the Telegraph discusses Blair's scathing attack on the Labour Party.
As does the Times, who lead with Tony Blair's warning that Labour's shift to the left is putting Britain at risk.
We're now joined in the studio by Ryan Wayne, Senior Director of Policy and Politics at the Tony Blair Institute. Ryan, thank you so much for joining us. Sure. Right, well, this is quite scathing. What are your thoughts on it? Because Tony has said, I think, out loud what a lot of people are saying, regardless of what party you're in.
You know, I think Tony's starting place is with the country, and he, like all of your viewers, are looking at a country where it feels like its best days are behind it. And we believe that politics can change that. But to do that, you need a political project, and a political project requires you to understand how the world is changing, and it really is changing at speed. Literally, the world is turning on its axes, and then develop a plan that responds to that. And I think what you'll get from the essay is that a sense that is currently missing, and we're in a world where we're putting politics in front of the right answers that this country desperately needs.
I mean, it's a devastating indictment when he says Labour does not have a coherent, worked-out plan for the country after 2 years in office. I think he's saying as well there was no plan when they got in, and there still isn't.
Yeah, and look, if you speak to people in and around government, they will share the same admission that there wasn't as coherent or cogent a plan as is necessary. But also, to be fair to them, when they took office, the economic situation was dire. But the world is changing. It hasn't changed as a full stop at the end of that sentence. It is changing. And what we're trying to do with this essay is articulate that change and then develop a suite of policy ideas, solutions that will make people's lives better and start to improve the country.
It's interesting.
Yeah, sorry.
It's interesting you mentioned the word solutions. There weren't any. There weren't any in here at all. I mean, some people would hear him criticising the government for not allowing America to use the RAF bases as, Tony, stay away from wars, please don't, because it reminds us of...
I disagree. If you go right to the end of the essay, maybe we should have put the solutions up front. Could be a lesson for next time. You go right to the end of the essay. On there are 10 things that this country needs to be doing. One of them, for example, is reducing the welfare bill. It's ballooned since the pandemic. And look, Britain is an outlier in how many people are going with mental health conditions onto the benefits bill. We can change that now. We can do that now.
Well, how do you change that? Because I'd be fascinated, because we've got 16% of the young population is unemployed.
Yeah, it's grim.
More and more people talking about mental health. How do you solve that mental health crisis?
There's two things you need to do.
Right.
One is an easy answer, which is the long-term reform. I think the government's in the right place on that. But there is a short-term, more difficult measure. So Britain is not an outlier with the number of young people being diagnosed with mental health conditions. That's happening in comparable countries right across the world. But we are an outlier in those people who have mental health conditions then going on to benefits. What you can do is introduce an emergency handbrake, introduce a concept of non-work limiting conditions. So people who have certain conditions that we deem not to be non-work limiting, you can literally pull a handbrake, and rather than get cash benefits, you reinvest some of the savings that you make into best-in-class mental health support. But that's just one example. What we're talking about here is a wholesale plan for a country that is looking in front of it, an AI revolution that is unfolding at speed.
But what do you mean by this handbrake? What do you mean?
it's a lever that the government can create. We have to remember that politics can do things. You know, since this government came into power, we've had 60-plus reviews. Compare that to 1997, Labour government. Look, a very different era, but within 4 days, the Bank of England had been made independent. Within 2 months, primary legislation had been introduced for a national minimum wage. I think people are frustrated, not just at the nature of the change, but the speed of the change as well. So an emergency handbrake, it introduces the concept of non-work limiting conditions and things like generalised anxiety disorder, ADHD, where people are currently going onto benefits, and it's not good for them and not good for the country. You limit benefit payments for them, but instead you give them support.
But hang on, but they tried to cut the benefits bill last year by $5 billion. Peanuts, frankly. And Labour MPs threw their hands up in horror and the government backed down.
But I think that's symptomatic of the central argument of this essay. You need a project. What you can't do is just introduce little measures that hang there like baubles on a ugly Christmas tree. It's got to be, you've got to understand what the Christmas tree looks like and then go out there and take that to the country. And look, people will not like some of the ideas in Tony's essay. People will not like some of the ideas that we need to implement in order for Britain to thrive again. But I think what people are ultimately looking for, and this is why they're going to Reform or the Greens, they're two sides of the same coin. They want leadership in this dire situation that the country finds itself in. They want leadership, and they're not afraid of a leader who stands up, makes an argument, confronts the trade-offs and lays out a policy agenda. And I think this essay is the best attempt, and I mean, I'm biased because he signs off my holidays, this is the best attempt I've seen of someone trying to do that.
All right, well, he says that the government should do whatever it takes to stop the small boats. Some would argue that the way the legislation has been embedded into this country is partly Tony Blair's fault. So what is the solution for whatever it takes? What is that? What would that be?
Look, immigration claims actually rose in the first couple of years of that new Labour government, but they recognised that's a problem and they did things, and the immigration asylum claims started to go down. You can do stuff. The situation in 1997-2000 is very different from the situation we've got now. When we talk about doing everything that we can, I think you're right to raise the question of the legal situation that surrounds government. It is problematic, it is holding up, but the beautiful thing about this country and about our parliament is that it is sovereign. And for a government with a majority of 120 plus, there is no excuse not to drive some of these things through. And look, on immigration, I think we need to get control. We need control of the borders. I think the Home Secretary did a good job on that. But with control comes then an opportunity to have a more progressive argument about immigration, because it's not saying shut the borders, but think about getting control and think about the immigration that we need in this country.
I don't go in the past, but just on one point here.
Go for it.
Does Blair not accept some responsibility for the massive increase in immigration in this country when Eastern European countries joined the European Union? Other countries had a transitional limit, so there was a limit on how many could come in. We didn't do that here. Robin Cook, I think, told us there'd be perhaps 70,000 would come in, 750,000 in the first year. On Blair's watch.
Look, obviously I can't speak for Tony, but what I would say about that is there is a difference between skilled migrants coming in who are building our houses and building our factories versus migrants coming in who are unskilled or dependent of migrants who are coming in, which is what we saw under the last government. And that leads to problems around increased spending on welfare, NHS, but also leads to problems around integration. And again, I come back to this essay. It is about taking that as a real issue that you need to confront in the round with everything else. And ultimately, it comes down to this country being stuck in a doom loop of high taxes, low growth, low investment. And I think what this plan does is it lays out the framework for us to start reversing some of that.
All right, well, just in summary, give us the plan, the framework that you've just described. Give us the framework that this lays out.
So it starts with an appraisal of the world. Take the world as it is, not as you wish it to be, so eschew ideology, and then start to build the right answers that allow Britain to flourish in that. Harness the technological revolution. We have real strength in this country that we should be embracing. Don't denigrate our universities. Harness them to make sure that we're spreading the productivity gains throughout the country. Reduce welfare spending. Shift away from this focus on clean power to cheap power. That's what we need. Our electricity is far too expensive in this country. That is just 4 examples of the comprehensive policy agenda we need in order to get Britain back on its feet.
He's also said, hasn't he, we're talking about a long slide into relegation from the Premier League of Nations. He's also attacked what could be a potential leadership contest, which he says is an unnecessary distraction. He had a constant leadership battle with Gordon Brown, did he not? But in the end, he went of his own accord.
But he was Prime Minister for 10 years.
He was.
I think that makes a big difference.
And this guy, we've not even had Starmer for 2 years. Has he not had this conversation with Starmer in private? Perhaps he has, and that's why he's felt he's had to publish this essay.
Well, again, I can't speak to him, but I think it's a really important point, Mike. 1 Prime Minister in 10 years versus 7 Prime Ministers in 10 years.
Yeah, turned into a banana republic.
And Tony did not remain Prime Minister because people liked him. He remained Prime Minister because there was a coherent plan, a project that people instinctively understood. And some people disagreed with it, but they liked the fact that the country had a direction of travel, and that is what we're calling for.
You can't tell me what he thinks of Keir Starmer. What do you think of Keir Starmer? Is he a leader?
I think Keir Starmer is a leader. I think he's been given a really, really difficult hand. But I don't think it's too late for him to turn it around. My advice to him would be to read this essay, engage with the work that we're doing, and really think about what it is that he wants this country to become, and start to articulate that, and start with that, and then rise above the personality politics that we seem to be surrounded by.
Well, it's a bit late in the day, I think, for him to start doing that. I think it's curtains for him. But Ryan, Wayne, thank you very much.
Really good and great for you to come in.
Yeah, no, real pleasure.
And we wish more senior Labour people would come in. We ask the Foreign Secretary constantly, don't we, about Cooper? She doesn't seem to think GB News viewers matter.
I'd love to come back, so let's keep the debate going.
Yeah, and if Mr Blair wants to come in, it's Sir Tony, of course.
We'd like to speak to Tony.
I can't speak for him.
Tony, come in. We would like to talk to you as well about this essay.
That is Ryan Wayne, who's Senior Director of Policy and Policy at Tony Blair, who insists to me that Tony Blair wrote every word of this 5,700-word article. Now, coming up.
A war of words breaks out between Reform UK's Zia Youssef and Robert Jenrick. We'll tell you why.
Up next, your energy bills are going to get a lot more expensive from July. Find out how you can keep them under control. We're going to talk to a consumer expert.
But first, if you're in search of some holiday sun, I'd actually say stay here, but check out the weather in Europe.
Can't wait to get in that sea.
Lovely and warm.
Just like the feeling of having great travel insurance.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News travel destinations forecast.
Hello there. The temperatures may start to fall across the UK over the coming days, but it remains hot across central and western parts of Europe. Here, a heat wave continues. Sunny spells across the Canary Islands, temperatures approaching 30 Celsius, the mid-30s for parts of Spain and Portugal, cooler around the coast. That will lead to the risk of some thunderstorms on Thursday across parts of Italy, perhaps Greece as well, and temperatures here above average. And it remains on the hot and sunny side as well.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News travel destinations forecast.
Westminster, the ultimate clique. And you're fighting like rats in a sack. But here on the Camilla Tominey Show, we ask the questions the establishment media is too scared to ask. OK, let me ask you a straight question, because I know you're a straight-talking politician. Whether it's net zero, illegal immigration or law and order, nothing is off-limits. You had the power then.
Yeah, as I
and
say,
now you've lost it. That's the Camilla Tominey Show, a politics show that's fearless. No, let me finish my question if you don't mind, because it is my show. Sundays at 9:30, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
GB News Breakfast, every day from 6 a.m.
11 World War II veterans here for the celebrations today, and one of them is Paul Terry, who served here in the Netherlands. In fact, Paul, this is what you looked like when you served here, and you served alongside your twin brother, whose medals you're wearing now. Paul, what do you remember about serving here in the Netherlands? Because the operation didn't quite go to plan, did it?
No, it didn't quite go to plan, and we were more or less ambushed, I suppose you call it, because, as I said, we were told that we were going to just walk into Arnhem and liberate them and take it, but unfortunately that wasn't the case. I don't know where the cock-up happened, but when we arrived there, there were also the German Panzer Division, which is a tank division, and there the trouble started, and it was rather nasty from there on. We were halted where we should, because we were land troops, and the parachute, we were told the parachutes had landed, and they unfortunately copped it very badly.
So how does it feel then to be back here for the celebrations today?
Well, it's great, really. It really is great there. You see the smiles on the faces, and the Dutch people are so nice. It's unbelievable what they went through, and we honour them very much, and we do appreciate what they do for us when we do come over here, because they treat us like royalty. And there we are. I'm very happy to be back for the second time. But whether I should get back for the third, I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. It's in God's hands.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Breaking news, live updates, stories that matter.
From the heart of the GB Newsroom to every corner of Britain, with our team of dedicated journalists across the UK.
GB News bulletins are there to deliver the latest news that matters to you. Bulletins on GB News,
The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome to Britain's Newsroom. It is our
You forgot what the programme was.
Well, I've been on so many of them, I couldn't remember which one I was on.
Exactly. You do them all with such style and aplomb.
Why, thank you. Well, it's just coming up to 50 minutes, actually, after 9 a.m. This is GB News.
And now millions of households, I'm afraid to tell you, they're facing another energy bill hike. Ofgem has confirmed prices will rise again from July. It will mean an average of £18 a month. That's over £200 a year. This is what the Energy Secretary, Ed Miliband, Mr Net Zero fanatic, I might add, said this morning.
The rise in the price cap because of a war we did not choose is deeply unwelcome news for householders across the country.
We know people were under pressure before this crisis, and that's why easing the burden is our #1 priority.
Well, Andy Mayer is an energy analyst at the Institute of Economic Affairs. Andrew, another rise, he's blaming it on the war. I get it, but, you know, what about net zero? He's not talking about that much, and that's costing us a fortune.
So, short term, he's correct. The recent price rises are linked to the tension in the Gulf and particularly the uncertainty about when that's going to finish. But long term, he isn't right, clearly. And long term, energy bills have been driven by net zero policies. So just some very clear figures. So 13% is the latest rise on bills from the last quarter. 30 to 40% is the rise since the general election in 2024, and 60% is the rise since the other general election in 2019. And what the energy companies have all said, and they're correct, is that even if the price of gas fell to the same levels as 2019 now, energy bills would not go back down to the same levels because of all the net zero policy costs that have been heaped on bills. And even with the government moving some of that into general taxation, which is just a game of hide the sausage, it's not going to help long term because these are much more expensive energy systems, even if the energy sources themselves are cheap at the point of use. So that's the underlying problem. The government's trying various schemes to redistribute these costs. So they're trying to help people, which is great, but redistribution is not the same thing as reducing costs long term. And there, Ed Miliband has been incredibly resistant and ideological about how to get prices down. So he won't reopen the North Sea, he won't consider fracking. He's looking at more and more renewables on the grid. And even though he said some good things about nuclear power, which could be cheaper longer term, that's not going to be in the lifetime of this Parliament or even the next one.
And it's interesting because we've been talking about the Tony Blair's essay, Andy, which I'm sure you've read or will be aware of some of it. He's attacked the drive to net zero, and he's also attacked the government's unwillingness to go back into the North Sea and exploit energy right on our own doorstep.
Yeah, I mean, others have referred to the treasure under our feet, and they're correct. I mean, the issue isn't that going back to the North Sea would immediately reduce prices. Clearly it wouldn't. North Sea fields take at least 4 to 6 years to come online as well, but that's still faster than most other energy sources in the current market. So what you get from reinvesting in your own resources is a long-term stream of income you can then use for other things. So if you tax North Sea appropriately or you tax fracking onshore, then you can spend some of that money either in keeping bills down or investing in innovation in low-carbon solutions that might actually work and be cheaper, and so it goes on. So it's just very, very strange that the government is prepared to import more oil and gas from Russia rather than use these resources that we have next to us. And that's where the ideology comes in. It is that Ed wants to lead the world in tackling climate change, and he thinks the way to do that is virtue signal, not actually invent new ways of getting energy cheap and clean.
All right. Well, listen, Andy Mayer, thank you very much for that. He's an energy analyst at the Institute of Economic Affairs.
And Ed Miliband won't listen.
Of course he won't. Why will he listen? I don't know why he should. He really should listen, Ed. We're telling you, net zero. It's a no. It's a dead as a dodo.
Yeah, come on and talk about it if you like, Mr. Miliband, because I don't think you've ever been on GB News. Still ahead, we're going to have the latest from Golders Green, where police are trying to find the cause of a major fire at a kosher supermarket. This is Britain's Newsroom on Britain's favourite morning show on GB News.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello there, welcome to your latest GB News weather forecast. High pressure still holding on for most of us today. Plenty of sunny spells, the risk of a few thundery showers and a little cooler for most of us. Those temperatures still above average. Some low cloud this morning across eastern Scotland, stretching down into eastern parts of England too. A bit of a northeasterly breeze here through the day, but the clouds should lift and break. Elsewhere, plenty of sunshine, but we could see some clouds bubbling up into the afternoon. The risk of some showers across parts of Wales, the West Midlands in particular. In the southwest, we'll see temperatures reaching the low 30s, but much cooler towards the north and east, around 14 to 15 Celsius along some eastern coast, so chillier compared to recent days. Into this evening time, the risk of further showers, but if we zoom into Scotland, a fine end to the day here. Plenty of sunny spells, temperatures in the mid-teens. Still rather cloudy though across towards Edinburgh, down towards the borders, but there'll be some glimmers of sunshine. Similar across Northern Ireland, plenty of sunshine to end the day. And the risk of showers across Wales into the Midlands. Some of these are thundery at times, but lots of places dry and still very warm in that evening sunshine, with temperatures in the mid to high 20s in places. Showers will feed north and eastwards as we move through the rest of the evening and overnight across England and Wales. Some heavy downpours developing, the odd rumble of thunder possible. Elsewhere, generally dry, particularly across parts of Scotland, and temperatures here in the countryside will dip into single figures. But for most, another warm night, not quite as warm as recent nights, but staying in double figures. Thursday is a bit more of a mixed day. Some low cloud across parts of Wales and southwest England around the coast. Showers pushing northwards, but plenty of sunshine in between. The sunshine quite abundant across parts of Scotland and into Northern Ireland for a time before some cloud moves in here. Later on in the day, some high cloud across England and Wales later. The risk of a few showers. Temperatures once again the high 20s to low 30s towards the south.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Thank you, Britain, for the thousands of you who are becoming friends of GB News each and every week.
Good morning. This is the latest AI travel news from GBNews.com. The A9 is restricted south of Golspie due to a collision. Congestion is building on the A4232 northbound from St Fagans to the M4 junction 33 near Capel Lanilton. In Warrington, one lane on the M62 westbound is closed between junctions 10 and 9 for a tyre change. Recovery work continues on the M2 eastbound exit slip at junction 3 in Kent due to an abandoned vehicle. And on the trains, Transport for Wales reports major disruption between Manchester Airport and Manchester Piccadilly, and Avanti West Coast faces delays between Watford Junction and London Euston. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
£76,543 and 21 pence in tax-free cash could be yours this summer. That's totally tax-free cash to spend on anything you like. And remember, because it's totally tax-free cash, you'll get to keep every single penny. For a chance to win, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB21 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 26th of June. This is a network giveaway. Entries will be pooled. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it?
Because
the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back,
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
and we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Good morning. It is 10 o'clock on Wednesday, the 27th of May, live across the United Kingdom. This is Britain's Newsroom with Andrew Pearce and me, Nana Acquare.
Blair's Labour reset. So Tony Blair has launched a scathing attack on the Labour government, effectively criticising just about everything they're doing, from net zero to the failure to cut benefits. Quite a change from this 4 years ago.
Keir Starmer has shown strength, determination and intelligence in setting Labour back on a winning path.
As for breaking and unwelcome news, energy bills will surge by more than £220 from July. Shadow Energy Secretary Claire Coutinho spoke to GB News earlier.
You can't nationalise whilst you're shutting down the North Sea. You can't have AI whilst Ed Miliband's making your electricity more and more expensive.
And May's heat record has been smashed. Unprecedented heat gripped Britain for a second day. Today, thunderstorms will be sweeping parts of the country.
And in that heat wave, some horror. Urgent new open water warnings are issued as 5 youngsters drowned during the hot weather.
And breaking this morning, police are investigating the cause of a fire at a kosher supermarket in Golders Green in North London. We'll be bringing you the latest.
And there's a reform deportation rift. A war of words erupts as Zia Youssef takes aim at Robert Jenrick's stance. We'll have the details.
Yes, we're just 2 weeks on from those stunning local election victories for Reform, and yet two of its biggest figures are taking chunks out of each other online. Get the latest with me very soon.
With Moonbase, Artemis astronauts will stay longer, explore farther, and conduct the kinds of science that advances exploration itself.
Well, America's racing China to put people back on the moon as NASA unveils plans for a permanent space base.
And I want people to have a reliable, comfortable, affordable and high-quality service, and that will be the benchmark by which I will judge myself.
Be good if they just arrived on time. A rail signal revolution. Labour plans to overhaul Wi-Fi services on trains across Britain within months.
I know it's infuriating when you can't get proper internet access on the train, but I think what infuriates people a lot more is the price of the trains.
Absolutely.
And the fact that they are often, in fact, frequently late.
And cancelled, often cancelled at the last minute.
Yeah.
So whether you can get your Wi-Fi or not. The thing is, some of the trains do offer a level of service, but it's a bit intermittent because the train is moving quite quickly. But really, if they think that that's what we, the hoi polloi, the public, the plebeians or whatever, are really happy with, oh great, I've got Wi-Fi on the train, most of us can still use our own networks on our from our mobile providers. So yeah, that would be great, but I don't think that's like a big deal.
No, and last week they were unveiling new branding on some of the trains, if you remember. Secretary of State for Transport, just get the trains running on time.
Exactly. And have a look at HS2 as well, costing more than a rocket to the moon.
I know, and it won't open until 2039, and we started the wretched thing in 2008. That's unbelievable, isn't it?
It is absolutely ridiculous. Well, what do you think at home? gbnews.com/your say. And of course, if you're worried about your energy bills rising by £21 from July, get in touch. We'll have a consumer expert to give us more tips. But first, your latest news with Tatiana Sanchez.
Thank you very much and good morning. The top story. Sir Tony Blair has accused Sir Keir Starmer of having no plan to fix Britain as he launched an attack on the Labour leader's record in office with a lengthy essay. The former Prime Minister, who is the only Labour leader to win 3 general elections, argued the government needs a fundamental reset after retreating into a left-wing comfort zone. He criticised the government for decisions on welfare, stopping the US from using its RAF bases during the attacks on Iran, and also urged Labour to do whatever it takes to stop the small boats crisis. However, Sir Tony warned Labour against forcing out Sir Keir Starmer without having a proper policy agenda to follow him. Shadow Energy Secretary Claire Coutinho spoke to GB News.
And the thing that I would agree with Tony on is if you don't have a proper diagnosis of what's going wrong with the country, then you will fail. You saw that with previous Conservative governments. You've seen that with the Labour government. You're seeing that with reform at the local level. If you don't get a grip on the legal things that are holding us back, like net zero legislation, the regulators, the regulation, the taxes, all of those things, if you don't rewire the system, then governments will keep failing the British public. And, you know, we just can't go on like this. We have to understand what we need to do for the country. And one of the most important things is to bring back growth.
It says household energy prices will rise by 13% a year in July as soaring wholesale costs caused by the US-Israel war with Iran hits bills for the first time. Regulator Ofgem says the war means a household using a typical amount of gas and electric will pay £221 more a year with an annual bill of £1,862. The jump will equate to a rise of £18 a month for the average household using both electricity and gas. The energy cap covers 33 million households in England, Wales and Scotland. Regulation and bills are different in Northern Ireland. In other news today, firefighters have been tackling a blaze at a commercial property in Golders Green in North London. The London Fire Brigade received 56 reports of a fire on Golders Green Road around 6:47 a.m. today, which appears to have started behind Jewish supermarket Kosher Kingdom. The cause of the fire is still unknown at this time. A Metropolitan Police spokesman said that officers are at the scene helping with road closures and evacuations. The UK record for the hottest May Day has been broken for a second day running as parts of London surpassed 35 degrees. Kew Gardens in southwest London recorded a provisional temperature of 35.1 degrees, beating Monday's 34.8-degree record high in the same place. Temperatures are expected to cool, though, slightly in parts of the UK. The soaring temperatures led to travel disruption as well as a series of open water fatalities in the past few days, with police confirming a 6th person actually has now drowned as a result of the heat wave. Well, that was as a 12-year-old boy whose body has been found after he went missing while swimming in a river. He was with his close friends when he got into difficulty in the River Ribble in Lancashire yesterday afternoon. Police and fire crews with underwater units launched a major search of the area until a body was recovered from the water around 8 o'clock last night. Formal identification hasn't yet taken place. The force said the death was not believed to be suspicious and a file would be passed to the coroner. Elsewhere, a man has been arrested in connection with the terrorist attack at the Heaton Synagogue last year. The 49-year-old was arrested in Salford on suspicion of failing to disclose information regarding terrorist activity. The arrest is linked directly to the attack that occurred on the 2nd of October 2025. During the incident, 2 men were killed and 3 other men sustained serious injuries. Russia is relentlessly targeting critical infrastructure and democracy in the UK and across Europe, the head of the intelligence agency, GCHQ, will warn. Anne Keith-Butler will also use the first of what is set to be an annual threat assessment to reveal that her officers are helping to counter reckless sabotage and assassination attempts by the Kremlin. At the same time, Ms. Keith-Butler will say in a lecture today that Vladimir Putin is going backwards on the battlefield in Ukraine. This observation chimes with the findings of research group that says Russian troops are under growing pressure with the rate of land they're capturing slowing and with Ukrainian forces starting to retake more territory than they're losing for the first time since 2023. And finally, at least one person has been killed, 9 others are unaccounted for at this time after a chemical tank imploded in the United States. The incident happened at a pulp and paper mill in Washington at 7:15 a.m. local time this morning. Yesterday morning, at least 9 other people, including a responding firefighter, were injured in the spill at the Nippon Dynawave packaging facility in Longview. A number of those injured suffered burns or inhalation injuries, authorities have said, with the severity of the injuries ranging from minor to critical. Authorities have given an update this morning, warning that the ruptured chemical tank remains unstable. Those are the latest GB News headlines. For now, more in half an hour.
You can now watch GB News live across the United States of America and the world on Truth Plus. Scan the QR code to find out more or visit gbnews.com/truth.
And welcome. This is Britain's Newsroom live across the UK on GB News with Andrew Pearce and the lovely Nana Queer.
Wow, a lot of you have been getting in touch with your thoughts. Let's see what you've been saying. Lee talked about Tony Blair. He says, if Tony Blair has the answers to fix the Labour Party, then why not put him in charge again?
Well, he's not an MP.
That's a start.
That's a point. And he's not in the House of Lords, so he couldn't run the Labour Party for the House of Lords either. I don't think he's not interested. He's 70-odd now.
Yeah, he's making a lot of money on the speaking circuit, isn't he? He's making thousands. Yeah. Well, Jenny says, Tony Blair had his go. Jog on, Tony. Jog on. I think, look, somebody needs to speak to this Labour government because they're lurching to the left. Freddie says, is this Blair pushing for leadership of the Labour Party again so that he can finish the job he started, destroying the UK?
Well, I did make the point to the Director of Policy, Brian Wayne, when he talked about immigration. I said, Blair, when he was in Prime Minister, when all those Eastern European nations joined the European Union, most countries in Europe had a limit, so they could only so many could have come in. Britain was alone in not having a limit, and I'm afraid they flooded in.
Yeah.
And we've never recovered from it.
That seems madness, that they didn't think, oh, well, everybody else is doing it, let's do that.
Yeah.
Seems really crazy.
Yeah.
And one more here from Hillary. She says, why can't these people understand that Starmer is unable to turn anything around?
Well, just to recap, Sir Tony Blair has warned the Labour Party against forcing out Sir Keir Starmer without having a proper policy agenda to follow him. And he's pretty much critiqued everything that this government has been doing in office, basically saying it's got no coherent, worked-out plan for the country after 2 years in office.
Well, it was almost 6,000 words, 5,700 in fact, an essay. And Sir Tony Blair said that Labour was lacking a project and was playing with the future of this country.
Megan Kenyon is with is a political correspondent with the left-leaning New Statesman magazine. Megan Kenyon, good morning to you.
Morning.
Now, there's no doubt Tony Blair is, without doubt, in modern times, Labour's most successful leader. He won 3 consecutive general elections. Nobody's ever done that before in the Labour Party. Does he still have a voice within the Labour Party, or is frankly, nobody listening to him anymore?
I think he absolutely still has a voice. I think this intervention this morning will potentially have gone down. I'm not sure it will be seen as the most helpful intervention at this moment, but for sure you can see that he's got a really clear argument there. You know, it was a very well written essay, hit some quite major points there. And obviously, you know, there's no turning away from the fact that, as you said, he won several elections for the Labour Party, was the leader for, more than a decade, and has still got that international profile. So I think even if people don't want to listen to Tony Blair, it's difficult not to.
Would you think that he has a point, though, that Labour are lurching to the left, they're afraid of losing out to the Greens, and they're coming up with, well, it sounds like policy ideas that would be a disaster for this country. Let's just take, for example, even the workers' rights bill. There are many elements to that that just don't make any sense at all, or even net zero.
I think, obviously, you know, Tony Blair comes from a different side of the party to some of the contenders we're seeing for the leadership contest. People like Andy Burnham, who's obviously running in Makerfield, and Angela Rayner. I do think that he's speaking to a different Labour Party to the one that we are that we have at the moment. I think that, if we look at any of the leadership polling, it suggests that whoever does end up winning, the only sort of heir to Tony Blair in terms of politics in those contenders is Wes Streeting. And he looks the least likely kind of all of the contenders according to polling to win a leadership election. So I think the thing is that the Labour Party as it stands currently does seem to want to continue on, as Tony Blair would call it, the soft left track. So I think it's very interesting to hear him make this intervention now. I've seen lots of criticism of he's sort of, people suggesting he's still looking at it in terms of how things were in 1997. But I do think it's almost, in terms of what we're seeing with the Labour Party leadership and where Labour Party members are at, it's almost too late to kind of make that sort of intervention, because the Labour Party does look quite different at this current moment.
He does also say, Megan, doesn't he, trying to change leader without having a proper policy for him is not a serious way of conducting affairs. That's a pretty devastating critique of what Labour is doing to itself and the country.
And I think that actually a lot of members of the public would probably agree with that assessment. I think there is really not an appetite for a change of Prime Minister again. But I think we're at a moment where the Labour Party, they are the party of government. We have a parliamentary democracy, and they are not happy with their leader. I mean, we saw 2 weeks ago almost 100 MPs called for Keir Starmer to resign. So we're sort of, whether we like it or not, because of the way that the Labour Party works, the way that our parliamentary democracy works, we are sort of having to face down this crisis. But I think Tony Blair has definitely touched on something that a lot of members of the public would think. We're in the midst of, we've seen the energy price cap rise this morning. We're in the midst of an international crisis in terms of what's going on with the United States and Iran. Is this the time to be changing Prime Minister for sort of the 7th, 8th time in the past past decade, I suppose? So, yeah, I think he's definitely touching on public feeling there.
Well, I guess he was saying that even if you change the leader, the problem is fundamental, that the Labour Party don't really have a fixed direction in which they're going, despite the fact they had 14 years in opposition to work out a plan. But he also kind of takes a swipe at the whole welfare system as well, the fact that Labour couldn't get through any changes to welfare and that we're spending too much on that.
Yeah, I think that's for sure a discussion that we're actually seeing kind of happen far wider than just sort of, the right of the Labour Party. I think even in kind of some of the discussions around Andy Burnham and Manchesterism, his whole ideology, there is kind of a recognition that in order to do that and deliver proper change, then, the ballooning welfare budget, because I think, it's not kind of political that this is a massive spend for the government. It's sort of just a fact. And I think that the Labour Party and the wider left is starting to realise there needs to be a proper discussion about this. But you're right, obviously the government was unable to get its welfare reforms through earlier this year. Last year, sorry. I think that was more down to the way in which those reforms were framed and the way in which the government was dealing with the Parliamentary Labour Party, sort of in terms of MPs not feeling listened to, not feeling that the changes that were being proposed were specifically the right ones that should be going about. It came down to a cost-saving exercise, really, rather than kind of the structural reform that is needed. And I guess that's what we're seeing now with Stephen Timms has been conducting his review. The government is, trying to think about how do we do this, because it's obviously an urgent need.
Can I just ask finally, Megan, would this 5,700-word article Blair's written, would it have been better if he'd had this conversation in private with Sir Keir Starmer and perhaps the Cabinet, or do you suspect he's been having these conversations, nobody's been listening, which is why he's gone public?
I mean, I don't want to speculate on what's kind of happened behind closed doors, but I do think it's interesting that Tony Blair has chosen now to sort of make this intervention. He is right. It is a moment of peril for the Labour Party. We're in quite an unprecedented moment where we have a by-election where the Prime Minister's chief rival is running to become one of the Prime Minister's own MPs in order to replace him. So, as well as that, it's just off the back of quite a damaging set of local elections for the Labour Party. So I can see why Tony Blair has chosen to make this intervention now. I'm sure there have been, discussions. I'm sure he will have spoken to Keir Starmer. Obviously, I don't know what those conversations will have contained, but I can for sure see why he's choosing this specific moment.
All right, Megan Kenyon, thank you very much. She's a political correspondent at The New Statesman.
Well, the Makerfield by-election will take place on the 18th of June following the resignation of Labour's Josh Simons. The candidates announced so far are Andy Burnham, Labour, Alan Howling, Lord Hope, the official monster raving Lunar Party, Robert Kenyon, Reform UK,
Rebecca Shepherd, Restore Britain, Michael Winstanley, the Conservative Party, Jake Austin, the Liberal Democrats, Dan Clark, the Libertarian Party, Peter Mark Ward, the Rejoin EU Party, Sarah Wakefield, the Green Party,
Ed Gemmell, the Climate Party, Robert Pownall, the Independent Project, The Wild, John Alfred Dyer, Independent, and Paul Richard Gould, Independent, and Count Binface Party. As you do. There's the joys of British democracy.
Right now, though, it is time for our Great British giveaway, and there's still plenty of time for you to grab your chance to win a whopping £76,543.21. It is tax-free. Here are the details.
£76,543 and 21 pence in tax-free cash could be yours this summer. That's totally tax-free cash to spend on anything you like. What would you spend it on? Treat the family and friends to the ultimate summer party, or just relax with enough cash in the bank to make this year your best yet. And remember, because it's totally tax-free cash, you'll get to keep every single penny. So what are you waiting for? For a chance to win £76,543 and 21 pence in tax-free cash, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB21 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 26th of June. This is a network giveaway. Entries will be pooled. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Good luck indeed. Up next, find out why a swarm of 89 drones crashed down into Darling Harbour in Australia.
We'll be going through that and more with our panel, Stephen Pound and Mike Parry. There they are. This is Britain's Newsroom on GB News. Why has Stephen Pound got those dark glasses on?
I don't know. Men in Black, who knows?
Do you trust what you're being told? Good, because neither do I.
Those are just facts.
I'm Alex Armstrong, and on my show, we'll expose the spin.
Well, I want to answer that, because you didn't let me last time, because you always speak over me.
The broken promises.
To deny that is denying the truth.
And the hypocrisy.
Needs to stop. You think we can allow?
Politics, policy, parliament. Nothing is off limits. No sugarcoating, no fear of offence, just the truth laid bare. Tune in every Saturday and Sunday at 9 p.m. for Alex Armstrong Tonight, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
5 hosts, 5 opinions, 5 fearless debates, 5 unfiltered takes on the day's news.
5 reasons not to be anywhere else on Saturday night.
This is the Saturday 5.
You got me. You got me good there.
Britain's biggest Saturday night TV show.
It's not a bad brand. Yeah.
Uncensored.
Very, very racy tonight. On the unpredictable.
What did she say? Can you translate it for us?
And always entertaining.
And how can a country go from being led by William Wallace to
Saturday nights from 6 p.m. only on GB News, the People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
You're going to want to stay tuned, trust me.
Join me, Nana Akweer, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun. No, he didn't say that, though. I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it?
Because
the failure is-
you're
the failure is-
deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back,
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
and we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes and Kerr weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power?
Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber.
Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics.
We'll see where this ruling takes us.
These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
What's the time? The time is 10:24. Britain's Newsroom with Andrew and Nana.
Yes, joining us, former Labour MP Stephen Pound and broadcaster and journalist Mike Parry.
Now, Mike, people will observe that you have got two prominent plasters on your face.
That's right. I'm being treated for skin cancer across my face. All the initial treatments started. What you're seeing now is the aftermath of the biopsies, where they take samples. They're working out a course of treatment, which will start very soon at the Royal Marsden. I'm in very good shape. Thank you to the millions, and I mean millions of people who've been in touch, and I can assure you it's something that I'm going to get over, and I want to offer hope to everybody who's got a serious illness. Be positive, go to the doctors in Britain who are the best in the world, you'll win.
Get in early too. Early diagnosis is absolutely the last thing.
Absolutely. And I think the Labour Party need a bit of a diagnosis, don't they? If Sir Tony Blair is the answer to all their problems...
No more Mr Nice Guy, come on. All be nice and positive and you put the boot in.
Did you become an MP when he was leader, or was he already
leader?
Of
course, I was a Blair babe.
You were?
A Blair babe?
His comments, I have to tell you, in the Tony Blair Institute are extraordinary, because what he's saying, in effect, is the only way that Labour can win an election is by not being Labour. And I think...
Well, not being old Labour, but New Labour won 3 elections, so he's got a point, hasn't he?
Yeah, well, because what is New Labour? Because New Labour is kind of a shifting thing. But look, the reality is that the Labour Party and the Conservative Party have always been coalitions. They've always been what Disraeli called an organised hypocrisy. And in the Labour Party, we had the sort of, the Hampstead intellectuals, the trade unions, we had, the various different factions. I think...
Which faction were you?
I was old New Labour.
right.
But I think
that's a bit. What does that mean? I mean,
the reality is, if you talk to Lee Anderson, he and I, when we were both Labour councillors, you could hardly put a cigarette paper between us. Yeah, we sort of socially conservative, which is what we were. But fiscally much more liberal. But the reality is that the socialist element of the Labour Party is inevitably going to split if under this particular prescription of Tony Blair's. And what it shows in some ways, and Tony Blair said the only way you can win an election is from what he calls the radical centre. But he then went on to say, but of course, the centre is always shifting. Look, now, God, you two know more than anybody, we've got 7 parties in play in this country. It's no longer just 2.
Surely this adoration for Tony Blair is completely misplaced. As far as I'm concerned, this country started going downhill the minute Tony Blair got in.
And he won 3 elections.
He won 3 elections because people were completely misguided. Well, for the first 2 terms of Labour government, he propped up the country by spending all the money Mrs Thatcher had made for this country. We were in surplus, but he just wasted it away. He had a Chancellor, Gordon Brown, who went on to wreck the country. He smashed up the Middle East by engaging in an illegal war, and he started the Quangoism of this country, which to this day runs the country. Things like the Supreme Court were not elected for by the British people. They were imposed upon us.
The Supreme Court used to be
upon us.
Mike, the Supreme Court used to be a corner of the House of Lords.
It used to be the Law Lords. It used to be the Law Lords. It used to be in Parliament. But he invented a left-wing organisation to oversee political discussion in this country. That's for sure.
Talk about Quangos. The biggest creation of Quangos in this country was when Margaret Thatcher sold off our gas, water, electricity and housing.
No, that's called privatisation. And that works. That largely works.
I tell you, it's called economic incompetence and illiteracy.
Let's ask about Blair. How much sway does he have today in the modern Labour Party? Is anyone in the cabinet, is anyone around Keir Starmer going to listen to what he says?
20 years on.
Wes Streeting, for sure. And a few of the others. But interestingly, he actually has more sway outside the Labour Party than he does inside.
That's his think tank, isn't it? Sticking its nose in all over the place. Yeah. But again, I say, as I did at the start, if Tony Blair is the solution, then the problem is much, much worse than even I think. Yeah. And I think we're going to end up like Greece if we have a government along the lines of either Keir Starmer or Wes Streeting for very much longer, because the international markets will stop lending to this country if they think the people in charge managing our money are so incompetent that we are going to go bankrupt.
Mike, under Tsipras, if you remember, the Greek economy was tanking 5 years ago. It is now growing by 3.5 GDP per annum.
And do you know why?
Because the European Union gathered round and actually subsidised and supported them, got all their money back with interest, and the Greek economy is now growing faster.
And they had to sack half of the public workers in Greece because teachers were retiring at 50, public servants were retiring at 55. Well, that's the sort of economy we're going to have in this country. Because all the time we're taking private money to inflate the welfare budget.
You mentioned the European Union. Blair, in that essay, I don't know if you've read it from beginning to end, he actually says, and stop banging on about going back in the European Union. It's a distraction and a waste of time. He's quite clear about that.
He also talks about the drive to self-sufficiency in energy supplies, which I think it would be disastrous if we abandoned the move towards net zero. But what he's talking about Europe...
Stephen, I thought you were more sensible than that, Stephen.
Can I just throw that in there?
But you said you're old new Labour.
His point about banging on, obsessing... People, in June 2016, there was a schism in the country. You know, brothers fell out against brothers, fathers against their children. And we can't possibly... If we had another referendum and it said go back in, then people would say, OK, let's have best out of 3, 2 out of 3. The people have spoken, not by a huge amount, but that's over. What we can have is the best of both worlds, as we did have under Margaret Thatcher.
No, we can't have the best of both worlds.
We can trade with Europe without having to take the euro, without having to take free movement, without having to...
No, that's not true. When we joined the European Union the first time, the European Union was responsible for 1/3 of the GDP of the world, right, in terms of trade, in terms of prosperity. It's now 1/7. It is a sclerotic, weakening socialist bloc which gives money to the public sector and does nothing to encourage private enterprise, ambition, or the perception that you can get on in life by standing on your own 2 feet.
Tell that to Poland, who's now got the fastest growing economy in Europe because it's in the European Union.
And takes no notice of the European Union whatsoever.
I was seduced by Margaret Thatcher when
really?
What did she say?
Have you written a book about it?
She convinced me. She convinced me to actually vote.
At what stage did she convince you?
When she turned up on television with a jumper on with all the European flags on it, she was massively pro-European because she saw it as the biggest trading bloc in the world.
Exactly. But then it turned into a political bloc and she would never have had anything to do with it. And in fact, she was so clever at telling them this is a trading bloc, not a political bloc, she got a massive refund. How about that? The only Prime Minister in the history of the European Union to get money back from it for wasting it.
Well, the Greeks got a lot back for growing tobacco, amazingly, but, you know, we can trade horror stories. But look, admittedly, she did a good deal. And I can't see why we can't be in the present situation where we can actually trade with Europe without being subservient to European...
Because they won't let us.
In 10 seconds, he also said this leadership contest that's underway is pointless and a distraction.
Unless they change, be clear about their direction.
Of course he's right.
And didn't we see at the bank holiday weekend that it's all about red tape and people can't even go on holiday to Europe without waiting 4 hours because the European Union want to punish us.
If we were still in the European Union, it wouldn't apply, would it?
Well, they're not... Well, you know, I don't know. Who knows what they would do to us. But look, we've had a few messages coming your way, Mike, on your say. Katie says, great to see you back. Wish you well.
Thank you very much.
Mary says, goodness, Mike, glad you are in good spirits. Wishing you a very speedy recovery. All the best, Maria says.
That's very, very kind.
They're all with women. You, Mike. Of course they are. Sending lots of wishes.
What do you call yourself, or what?
I am...
A middle-aged babe magnet.
Exactly. I am recognised as a middle-aged babe magnet.
Well, then there's a guy called Nick here who says, take care, Mike. I went through cancer treatment 3 years ago, so I know what you are going.
Could be
Thank you very much indeed.
On that, thank you very much for the messages for Mike.
Lovely.
Here. We're now going to have our 60-second news update with Tatiana Sanchez.
Thank you very much and good morning. The top stories from the GB Newsroom. So Tony Blair has accused Sir Keir Starmer of having no plan to fix Britain as he launched an attack on the Labour leader's record in office. The former Prime Minister argued the government needs a fundamental reset after retreating into a left-wing comfort zone, he says. The UK record for the hottest May Day has been broken for a second day running as part of London surpassed 35 degrees. It's as a body was found in a search for a 12-year-old boy who went missing while swimming in a river. The boy was with his friends when he got into difficulty in the River Ribble in Lancashire yesterday afternoon. Household energy bill prices will rise by 13% a year in July as soaring wholesale costs caused by the US-Israel war with Iran hits bills for the first time. Regulator Ofgem says the war means a household using a typical amount of gas and electric will pay £221 more a year. Those are the latest headlines for now. More at the top of the hour.
Tune in to GB News Radio wherever you are. Online, on DAB Digital Radio, on TuneIn, on Radio Player, on Nation Player and on your smart speaker. Just say, play GB News.
Just to bring Mike Parry back down to earth, one says, go on, Porky Parry, tell that Labour lefty what for.
Very good. I like that.
It's many years since I got called a lefty.
Well, stay with us because up next, Energy Secretary Ed Miliband doubles down on reaching net zero. Why? As your bills are about to skyrocket in July, we'll have some of those tips to keep the costs down. Is this just in just a few moments? This is Britain's Newsroom on GB News.
Hello there, welcome to your latest GB News weather forecast. High pressure still holding on for most of us today. Plenty of sunny spells, the risk of a few thundery showers and a little cooler for most of us. Those temperatures still above average. Some low cloud this morning across eastern Scotland, stretching down into eastern parts of England too. A bit of a northeasterly breeze here through the day, but the clouds should lift and break. Elsewhere, plenty of sunshine, but we could see some clouds bubbling up into the afternoon. The risk of some showers across parts of Wales, the West Midlands in particular. In the southwest, we'll see temperatures reaching the low 30s, but much cooler towards the north and east, around 14 to 15 Celsius along some eastern coast, so chillier compared to recent days. Into this evening time, the risk of further showers, but if we zoom into Scotland, a fine end to the day here. Plenty of sunny spells, temperatures in the mid-teens. Still rather cloudy though across towards Edinburgh, down towards the borders, but there'll be some glimmers of sunshine. Similar across Northern Ireland, plenty of sunshine to end the day. And the risk of showers across Wales into the Midlands. Some of these are thundery at times, but lots of places dry and still very warm in that evening sunshine with temperatures in the mid to high 20s in places. Showers will feed north and eastwards as we move through the rest of the evening and overnight across England and Wales. Some heavy downpours developing, the odd rumble of thunder possible. Elsewhere, generally dry, particularly across parts of Scotland, and temperatures here in the countryside will dip into single figures. But for most, another warm night, not quite as warm as recent nights, but staying in double figures. Thursday is a bit more of a mixed day, some low cloud across parts of Wales and southwest England around the coast, showers pushing northwards, but plenty of sunshine in between. The sunshine quite abundant across parts of Scotland and into Northern Ireland for a time before some cloud moves in here. Later on in the day, some high cloud across England and Wales later, the risk of a few showers. Temperatures once again the high 20s to low 30s towards the south.
Thank you, Britain, for the thousands of you who are becoming friends of GB News every week.
You're not only watching and listening to our programmes, you're becoming part of them too.
Good morning. This is the latest AI travel news from GBnews.com. The A9 south of Golspie is restricted due to a collision. One lane on the northbound A1 in Nottinghamshire is closed between the A52 and A46, with normal traffic expected by 11:30. The M5 northbound in Worcestershire has delays between Junction 5 and Junction 4A due to a vehicle fire. In Suffolk, the A14 eastbound has delays between Junction 54 at Ipswich West and Junction 57 at Ipswich East. The A20 westbound in Kent has lane closures because of a broken down vehicle. And on the trains, services between Watford Junction and London Euston on Avanti West Coast and London North Western Railway are disrupted. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
Good morning. It's 38 minutes after 10 o'clock. This is Britain's Newsroom on GB News.
Now, I'm afraid to tell you, millions of us are going to face higher energy bills this summer as Ofgem's confirmed prices will rise again from July, which means your bill will increase by around £18 a month, £221 a year.
Right, let's speak to consumer expert Harry Wallop, who joins us now. Harry, just a lot of people don't get what this, you know, the price cap is. So what does it actually mean? What do Ofgem actually do?
Yeah, that's a very good point. So the price cap is the maximum amount that any energy supplier can charge for a unit of energy that you use, be it electricity or gas. Which means that actually, if you don't use anything, then you obviously won't see these huge price increases. So it is on the unit of energy. And the key thing is that round about 60% of the country are on these sort of price caps, which means their prices go up and down every 3 months when Ofgem, the regulator, sets this maximum amount. So if you can get off the standard variable rate, you're going to save some money. Be with the 40% of the country who realised about a year ago that you could save significant amounts of money by not being subject to the whims of Ofgem, the regulator, and find a better deal. And there are better deals out there.
So how do people get a better deal, Harry? Do they just have to look up at these consumer websites or just go through every single electricity and gas company's websites and look for themselves? I mean, I'm, for instance, with a company that automatically finds me better deals.
Very good, Andrew. Very sensible. I knew you would be doing the sensible thing. Yeah, the key thing is to find out what deal you are on. And a lot of people don't know if they're on the standard variable rate, and therefore their bills will go up a lot in July by about 13%, or whether they're not. So the first thing is to find out what tariff you are on, and then go on to one of the very many sort of comparison websites, be it, you know, Uswitch, Compare the Market, Money Supermarket, and you can find out better deals out there. And they are quite complicated, so you do need to look at the unit charge of gas and electricity, and then standing charges. So there are sort of 3 quite annoying variables, but to give them credit, most of these comparison websites will do the maths for you, and they will tell you whether you're saving money or if you're not saving money. Now, as it currently stands this morning, there are 1 or 2 deals that are marginally cheaper than the current price cap. And remember, the thing that was announced this morning is the price cap kicking in July, which means not only will you save a tiny amount of money for the next few weeks, but you'll also save quite a bit of money when the July price cap comes in. And then, because most fixed deals, and you will have to agree to fix your deal, that's the issue, most deals for a year or maybe 18 months, you're taking a slight gamble what's going to happen further down the line. And nearly all experts reckon that come October, which is the really important one, that's as we head into winter when we actually start using far more energy, come October, prices are not coming down. You know, Donald Trump seems to be unable to do anything to end the war he started in Iran, and you know, the global energy prices are still very, very high, and they're not going to reverse anytime soon. So you might as well fix now, at least be guaranteed what you're paying for the next year.
Doesn't your energy provider have to tell you if they have a better rate than the one that you're on?
Yes, absolutely, and that's always a very good starting point. Find out who you're on. I mean, most people obviously know who they're on, and then see if there's a better deal. And they will switch you automatically, and there shouldn't be, if you're on the standard variable rate, there's no exit fee. You know, if you're on a fixed deal, you nearly always have to pay 50, maybe 100, maybe 150 pounds to exit that deal in order to get a better deal, and you have to take that into your calculations. But if you're on the standard variable rate, as 6 out of 10 people are in the UK, there's no exit fees.
And we've got the war in Iran, Harry, but also our own contribution to net zero. That's also a big factor in why our bills are so high.
Yeah, I mean, this is a complicated. Yeah, there are all sorts of things coming into this, and lots of people would argue it would be sensible, as we have gas sitting in the North Sea, we should start drilling that gas rather than importing it from through the Straits of Hormuz, where it's currently stuck, and why the prices are going up. And there are good arguments in favour of that, not least that we would actually get a lot of tax dollars, a lot of tax pounds into the Treasury if we gave licences to do that drilling. I mean, it would make no difference in the short term. It would take many years for those gas fields to come on stream, and as it currently stands, the way the gas the gas market is structured, we actually sell stuff that we drill in the North Sea, and there is obviously some drilling that goes on there, onto the global market. So it wouldn't magically come into our homes at a discounted rate, but it might be good for the economy, and it would help with our our energy security, and we are likely to carry on using gas. It doesn't matter how many solar panels we put up, it doesn't matter how many electric cars we drive, most of us still have gas boilers and use gas ovens, and that's not going to change in the next 3 or 4 or 5 years.
Very finally, although you're saying that the prices will continue to rise and everything else like that, couldn't you find yourself in a position where you fixed yourself at a higher rate and actually the price comes down? I did that once. I didn't fix it, I didn't take any notice, I just kept on the same rate I was on, and it turned out that I was right.
Yeah, that is a risk. If you fix now, I think the risks of you losing money in the long term over the next year is pretty slim, because the key point is that the price cap that is announced for October to December is based on essentially the current global gas prices now. And we know they're very high. So there's quite a big time lag. So there would have to be, for you to end up losing money by fixing on this, you'd have to have a pretty magic solution. The Ayatollahs and Donald Trump, shaking and hugging warmly in some neutral territory, saying we've sorted it all out and everyone's very happy, and for energy prices to really plummet quite dramatically in the next few weeks. So there just seems no sign of that coming anytime soon. I don't think you'll lose significant amounts of money, by fixing today.
All right, Harry, that's Harry Wallop, consumer expert. Thanks so much, and that's pretty good advice, I would say.
Yeah.
Now, this morning, the Energy Secretary, Ed Miliband, said
that the rise in the price cap because of a war we did not choose is deeply unwelcome news for households across the country.
We know people were under pressure before this crisis, and that's why easing that burden is our #1 priority. Well, why don't they then?
Well, exactly. You'd think they would. I mean, there's quite a few things they could do, couldn't they? Well, friends of GB News can vote in our poll today for free by scanning the QR code on the screen now, or by visiting gbnews.com/you decide.
This morning we're asking, are you worried about rising energy bills? Get in touch and let us know.
But up next, find out about the public disagreement between Reform's Zia Youssef and Robert Jenrick on deportation.
But first, if you want some holiday sun, here's the forecast for some of our leading European destinations.
I forecast a perfect holiday in the sun.
Weather looking good then?
For sure, and no worries about our travel insurance.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Hello there. The temperatures may start to fall across the UK over the coming days, but it remains hot across central and western parts of Europe. Here, a heat wave continues. Sunny spells across the Canary Islands, temperatures approaching 30 Celsius, the mid-30s for parts of Spain and Portugal, cooler around the coast. That will lead to the risk of some thunderstorms on Thursday across parts of Italy, perhaps Greece as well, and temperatures here above average. And it remains on the hot and sunny side as well.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Exciting news. Every Friday, my Patrick Christie's Tonight Show is going to have a twist to it. We're welcoming some special guests. You. That's right, on Fridays I'm going to be doing my show in front of a live studio audience, because this show is about you and what you have to say. It's going to be the same big debates, same big topics, same big opinions. But every Friday night at 9 p.m, you are invited to come on down to Patrick Christie's Tonight to be a part of the action. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
GB News Breakfast, every day from 6 a.m.
Just talk us through, if you would, because
It is fascinating, just the level, the intensity of the bombardment that London, in particular, was facing during that period of time. How long did it last for, and, you know, how intense was it?
Thank you, Mark. Hi again, Anne. Nice to see you.
Lovely to see you.
The whole point about the book, Mark, is that you mentioned London there, and of course, that's the reality of what most people think. They think London, a few months between around Christmas 1940, that was the Blitz. But that's not the story that I'm telling. I'm telling the story that, you know, GB News would tell, which is the story of the whole nation. So not London, we're talking about Coventry, people will remember that. We're talking about Glasgow, we're talking about Aberdeen, we're talking about Exeter. And I'm telling the story of the war. So yes, thousands were killed in London during those few months, dreadful months in around Christmas 1940. But 60,000 civilians perished during the whole course of the war. And again, we talk about when the Blitz started, when the Blitz ended. If you were being bombed in Glasgow or you were being bombed in Newcastle, so that image you've got on screen now is my mum's hometown. That is the picture of an air raid shelter in my mum's hometown. And if she'd been in that shelter, I wouldn't be with you today. But I found a survivor.
Where is it?
So that is in North Shields, on the banks of the Tyne as you come down outside Newcastle. So that image that you've got there, that kind of sparked the story that I tell of the nation in the book.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints. How many fingers have I ever got up? About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
It is 10:50. This is Britain's Newsroom on GB News with Andrew and Nana.
Now, Reform UK is facing internal divisions over its deportation policy after Zia Yusuf publicly contradicted his colleague Robert Jenrick.
The Treasury spokesman suggested foreign nationals in council housing would not automatically face deportation, but Yusuf, who is the Home Affairs spokesman, insisted anyone in taxpayer-funded social housing would fail reform's economic test and be removed.
Well, GB News' political correspondent Olivia Utley joins us now to tell us more. Olivia.
Well, I think it's fair to say for onlookers, people in Westminster watching this and fans of Reform elsewhere in the country, this seems pretty bizarre. Reform won the local elections in a stunning victory just 2 weeks ago, and yet now they're ripping chunks out of each other very publicly online. Essentially what this row is about is Robert Jenrick was asked on Sky News on Sunday whether people who've come here, foreign nationals who've come here and have indefinite leave to remain, would be deported under Reform simply because they live in social housing. Robert Jenrick said not simply because of that, if they fail to meet our other criteria, if they're out of work, etc., etc. Zia Yusuf chose to take to Twitter to say that Robert Jenrick's policy is not a Reform policy, and that actually anyone who lives in social housing would automatically be deported under Reform. I think it's worth saying that I think there is some bad blood between the two of them already. I don't think this is... Because on the face of it, you wonder why on earth Zia Yusuf has waded into this row. Why did he bother? It's not as though the disagreement is that huge between himself and Robert Jenrick, but I think there is some bad blood between them. If you remember, Robert Jenrick defected to Reform just a few months ago, and in the weeks leading up to the defection, Zia Yusuf very publicly insulted Robert Jenrick, saying that the Conservatives would be even worse led under Jenrick than under Kemi Badenoch. He called him a 2P Farage impersonator. I don't think the two of them get on pretty well, and I suspect that there is a lot of disagreement bubbling under the surface, probably bigger disagreements about the whole of Reform's immigration strategy, and this is just what we've seen sort of come up to the surface. But you do have to wonder, at such a pivotal, critical time for Reform, whether this is a very sensible strategy from some of its top players.
Because it would seem wise if perhaps he kept quiet a little bit about this, because I think most people would agree with his strategy. But I'm wondering why Robert Jenrick would sort of try and make some sort of differential between somebody who isn't a foreign national and there'll be some who can live in a council house and stay in this country.
Well, it's a good question. It's not clear whether Robert Jenrick just sort of wasn't 100% certain about what Reform's policy actually was. Although, if that were the case, if a government minister makes a bit of a mistake, for example, on the morning round and says something which slightly disagrees with government policy, you wouldn't expect the government to then come out and say, shame that person and say they got it wrong. You'd think it would all be sort of quietly hushed up and you'd hope no one would notice.
Just have a little conversation in private.
Exactly, have a conversation in private, which makes me think that perhaps there is something bigger going on behind the scenes, that maybe Robert Jenrick, on a more general fundamental level, thinks that Reform's immigration policy has gone a step too far. I would love to be a fly on the wall in those private conversations between Zia Youssef and Robert Jenrick. How much as well this is just about personalities, I would love to know too. Is it just there are quite a lot of quite big egos at the top of Reform, and I wonder the extent to which they're clashing behind the scenes.
Fascinating, isn't it?
Yes, isn't it, Olivia? Thank you very much. Right, up next, what is the biggest problem with the trains? Is it the cost, or maybe the fact that they're never on time? Well, forget all of that. You'll soon have a really, really good Wi-Fi on them, apparently. Yeah, I'm looking forward to that.
So that's what's so important. This is Britain's Newsroom, Britain's favourite morning show on GB News.
Today, clouds overhead, total zen within. Boxed Solar sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello there, welcome to your latest GB News weather forecast. High pressure still holding on for most of us today. Plenty of sunny spells, the risk of a few thundery showers and a little cooler for most of us. Those temperatures still above average. Some low cloud this morning across eastern Scotland, stretching down into eastern parts of England too. A bit of a northeasterly breeze here through the day, but the clouds should lift and break. Elsewhere, plenty of sunshine, but we could see some clouds bubbling up into the afternoon. The risk of some showers across parts of Wales, the West Midlands in particular. In the southwest, we'll see temperatures reaching the low 30s, but much cooler towards the north and east, around 14 to 15 Celsius along some eastern coast, so chillier compared to recent days. Into this evening time, the risk of further showers, but if we zoom into Scotland, a fine end to the day here. Plenty of sunny spells, temperatures in the mid-teens. Still rather cloudy, though, across towards Edinburgh, down towards the borders, but there'll be some glimmers of sunshine. Similar across Northern Ireland, plenty of sunshine to end the day. And the risk of showers across Wales into the Midlands. Some of these are thundery at times, but lots of places dry and still very warm in that evening sunshine, with temperatures in the mid to high 20s in places. Showers will feed north and eastwards as we move through the rest of the evening and overnight across England and Wales. Some heavy downpours developing, the odd rumble of thunder possible. Elsewhere, generally dry, particularly across parts of Scotland, and temperatures here in the countryside will dip into single figures. But for most, another warm night, not quite as warm as recent nights, but staying in double figures. Thursday is a bit more of a mixed day. Some low cloud across parts of Wales and southwest England around the coast. Showers pushing northwards, but plenty of sunshine in between. The sunshine quite abundant across parts of Scotland and into Northern Ireland for a time before some cloud moves in here. Later on in the day, some high cloud across England and Wales later. The risk of a few showers. Temperatures once again the high 20s to low 30s towards the south.
Today, clouds overhead, total zen within. Boxed Solar sponsors the weather on GB News.
Are you dreaming of a ton of tax-free cash this summer? We want to make that dream come true with a stunning £76,543 and 21 pence in cash to spend however you like. Put a new car on the drive or just relax in the knowledge that this year we've got your back. For a chance to win, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB21 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 26th of June. This is a network giveaway. Entries will be pulled. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Westminster, the ultimate clique. And you're fighting like rats in a sack. But here on the Camilla Tominey Show, we ask the questions the establishment media is too scared to ask. OK, let me ask you a straight question, because I know you're a straight-talking politician. Whether it's net zero, illegal immigration or law and order, nothing is off-limits.
You had the power then.
Yeah, as I
and
say,
now you've lost it.
That's the Camilla Tominey Show, a politics show that's fearless.
But no, let me finish my question if you don't mind, because it is my show.
Sundays at 9:30, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Bold. They are under no illusion. Ray, are you a human trafficker? Boundless. I've had enough of the nonsense, and I'm not afraid to say it. Don't get us on the BBC. Every weeknight, I tear through the headlines. The smell of gasoline. Should we be worried about it? From Westminster madness to cultural war chaos. I'm going to do now, they are throwing things out the car as we speak. Get ready, Britain. Here we go. Patrick Christie's tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel. As soon as it hits 11 and the headlines come in,
the Late Edition brings you the breaking news from all the front pages.
Because the news is going to happen.
So get a head start today.
Patrick Christie's tonight, Late Edition.
Alex Armstrong tonight, Late Edition. From 11 o'clock every night.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
I've been in Westminster for a long time, but I know that though power may be here, its effect on people's lives is across the whole of the country. We may be where rules are made, but it's where they're implemented that matters. Join me, Jacob Rees-Mogg, for forthright and frank discussion on where Britain has come from, where it's going, and where it will end up. That's State of the Nation, Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock. Vox Populi, Vox Dei.
It's 11 o'clock on Wednesday, the 27th of May, live across the UK. Britain's Newsroom with Andrew Pearce and Nana Akua.
Yes, good morning to you. Now, Blair's Labour reset. Sir Tony Blair launches a scathing attack on the government, saying that there is no coherent plan for the country. Quite a change from this 4 years ago.
Keir Starmer has shown strength, determination and intelligence in setting Labour back on a winning path.
These words will sting. This government is in the wrong political position. Comes from a three-time election-winning former Labour PM, Sir Tony Blair. How on earth does Sir Keir Starmer reply?
Breaking but unwelcome news, I'm afraid. Energy bills will rise by more than £220 from July. The Shadow Energy Secretary, Claire Coutinho, told GB News this earlier.
You can't nationalise whilst you're shutting down the North Sea. You can't have AI whilst Ed Miliband's making your electricity more and more expensive.
Of course, the May heat record has been smashed. Unprecedented heat gripped Britain for a second day today. Thunderstorms will apparently hit parts of this country.
And heatwave horror, I'm afraid. Urgent new open water warnings are issued as 5 youngsters have drowned during the recent hot weather.
And in more breaking news this morning, police are investigating the cause of a fire at a kosher supermarket in Golders Green. We'll bring you any updates.
With Moonbase, Artemis astronauts will stay longer, explore farther, and conduct the kinds of science that advances exploration itself.
So it's a race between America and China to get back on the moon, to put astronauts on the moon, as NASA unveils plans for a permanent space base.
And I want people to have a reliable, comfortable, affordable and high-quality service, and that will be the benchmark by which I will judge myself.
Yes, it would be great if they arrived on time as well. There's going to be a rail signal revolution. Labour plans to overhaul Wi-Fi services on trains across Britain within months.
And the missing earpiece mystery plaguing on Britain's newsroom has been solved. We found the culprit.
Andrew Pierce, better turn here. I have just been putting my earpiece on, and I noticed recently that my earpiece in America didn't fit me brilliantly, but I just thought, well, you know, turned out that I've been wearing your earpiece in America.
I wouldn't mind, but I paid for that earpiece myself.
Did you?
I did.
She
and
needs to send it
cheap.
back.
Well, I don't think I want it now.
Do you not?
Well,
you can sterilise it.
Hygiene, you know, that was the whole point of having my own earpiece. Well, there was a great mystery because I was accusing all sorts of people, including Christopher Hope, of printing my earpiece.
So there you go. Beverly Turner, she has stolen your earpiece. At least she's confessed.
Christopher Hope denying it. Well, there we are. We know. As ever, tell us what you think. Send your views and post your comments by visiting
gbnews.com/your say. But first, your latest news with Tatiana Sanchez.
Thank you very much and good morning. The top story. Sir Tony Blair has accused Sir Keir Starmer of having no plan to fix Britain as he launched an attack on the Labour leader's record in office. The former Prime Minister has argued the government needs a fundamental reset after retreating into a left-wing comfort zone, he says. He criticised the government for decisions on welfare, stopping the US from using its RAF bases during the attacks on Iran, and also urged Labour to do whatever it takes to stop the small boats crisis. However, Sir Tony warned Labour against forcing out Sir Keir Starmer without having a proper policy agenda to follow him. Shadow Energy Secretary Claire Coutinho spoke to GB News.
And the thing that I would agree with Tony on is if you don't have a proper diagnosis of what's going wrong with the country, then you will fail. You saw that with previous Conservative governments. You've seen that with the Labour government. You're seeing that with reform at the local level. If you don't get a grip on the legal things that are holding us back, like net zero legislation, the regulators, the regulation, the taxes, all of those things, if you don't rewire the system, then governments will keep failing the British public. And, you know, we just can't go on like this. We have to understand what we need to do for the country. And one of the most important things is to bring back growth.
It says household energy prices will rise by 13% a year in July as soaring wholesale costs caused by the US-Israel war with Iran hits bills for the first time. Regulator Ofgem says the war means a household using a typical amount of gas and electricity will pay more than £220 in their annual bills. The jump will equate to a rise of £18 a month for the average household using both electric and gas. The energy cap covers 33 million households in England, Wales and Scotland. Regulation and bills are different in Northern Ireland. Firefighters have been tackling a blaze at a commercial property in Golders Green in North London today. The London Fire Brigade received 56 reports of a fire on Golders Green Road just before 7 o'clock this morning, which appears to have started behind a kosher supermarket. The cause of the fire is unknown at this time. A Metropolitan Police spokesman said officers are at the scene helping with the road closures and evacuations. In other news, the UK record for the hottest May Day has been broken for a second day running as parts of London surpassed 35 degrees. Kew Gardens in southwest London recorded a provisional temperature of 35.1 degrees, beating Monday's 34.8 degrees, record high in the same place. Temperatures are expected to cool slightly in parts of the UK. The soaring temperatures led to travel disruption as well as a series of open water fatalities in the past few days. That was as a 12-year-old boy whose body has been found after he went missing while swimming in a river. He was with friends when he got into difficulty in the River Ribble in Lancashire yesterday afternoon. Police and fire crews with underwater units launched a major search of the area until a body was recovered from the water just before 8 p.m. Formal identification hasn't yet taken place. The force said the death was not believed to be suspicious. Elsewhere, a man has been arrested in connection with the terrorist attack at the Heaton Synagogue last year. The 49-year-old was arrested in Salford on suspicion of failing to disclose information regarding terrorist activity. The arrest is linked directly to the attack that occurred on the 2nd of October last year. During the incident, 2 men were killed. 3 other men sustained serious injuries. Russia is relentlessly targeting critical infrastructure and democracy in the UK and across Europe. The head of the intelligence agency GCHQ is to warn today. Anne Keast-Butler will also use the first of what is set to be an annual threat assessment to reveal that her officers are helping to counter reckless sabotage and assassination attempts by the Kremlin. At the same time, Ms Keast-Butler will say in a lecture today that Vladimir Putin is going backwards on the battlefield in Ukraine. It comes as a research group says Russian troops are under growing pressure, with the rate of land they're capturing slowing and with Ukrainian forces starting to retake more territory than they're losing for the first time since 2023. And at least one person has been killed and 9 others are unaccounted for after a chemical tank imploded in the US. The incident happened at a pulp and paper mill in Washington at 7:15 local time on Tuesday. At least 9 other people, including a responding firefighter, were injured in the spill at the Nippon Dynawave packaging facility in Longview. A number of those injured suffered burns or inhalation injuries, authorities said, with the severity of the injuries ranging from minor to critical. Authorities have warned the ruptured chemical tank remains unstable. Those are the latest headlines for now. Here's the finance.
Taking the ups and downs in our stride. Stilts Home Lifts sponsors the GB News Finance Report.
The pound will buy you $1.35 and €1.16. The price of gold, £3,340, and the FTSE 100, 10,494 points.
GB News Finance Report, brought to you by Stilts Home Lifts.
Hello and welcome. This is Britain's Newsroom. We're live across the United Kingdom on GB News with Andrew Pearce and me, Nana Acquair.
Well, so Tony Blair, let's face it, Labour's most successful post-war leader, has warned the Labour Party against forcing out Sir Keir Starmer without having a proper policy agenda to follow him. And he's launched a pretty devastating attack on the government's time in office.
It's a 5,700-word essay, and we're joined by just the man who has read every single word. Christopher Hope.
It's an extraordinary moment here, and the timing is perfect. The last Prime Minister to win 3 elections, the only one to win 3 elections, the last living Prime Minister to win any election, having an absolute takedown of Sir Keir Starmer, saying that his government is essentially governing from Labour's soft left, firmly in what he calls its comfort zone. We don't have a worked-out, coherent plan for the country in a fast-changing world, he says. We're in the wrong political position from which we can devise one to win a second term. These are words from a global statesman. I mean, deeply impressive Prime Minister. If you're from the right just eulogised him when he was in power. And I worked at the Telegraph at the time. I remember vividly how everyone thought, if you take a bit of Blair, move into the centre, you can be a government. I mean, it's a complete takedown. And look what he's saying. He's saying, why can't this government reform welfare? It should water down the workers' rights bill, drill more oil and gas in the North Sea, give damaged growth, hampered growth, and with all these measures to the government. I mean, frankly, I don't think Kemi Badenoch would disagree with any of this.
He's even attacked them by increasing the minimum wage above the rate of inflation.
Yes.
I mean, just about everything. And this government's hardly done anything. Frankly, that's been one of the criticisms. But what it has done, he's attacked every bit of it.
Yes, it's pricing young people out of jobs.
Yeah.
And we heard it from the next boss this week, saying there's 19 applications for every job in their shops, rather than a dozen, as there was before this change, because it's so costly to hire somebody, because the changes of workers' rights, the national insurance cost of hiring an employee, than the minimum wage, a triple whammy for employers.
And he makes the point very high up in that article that he was Prime Minister for 10 years and won 3 elections. He's basically saying to Starmer, you're the novice, mate.
He's saying, where's the plan? It's also very, very political, because he praises a lot Wes Streeting, who we always thought was the Blairite candidate, less so for Andy Burnham. He says, what's the idea? It's a very fallow time in politics. MPs are away on their break. It's Wednesday. It's normally PMQ's day. And here's a former PM making a massive intervention.
I mean, he's also mentioned the small boats, and he said the government should do whatever it takes to stop them. Yet this government have been dithering here or there.
That's what reforms say. But reforms say we'll do whatever it takes. And what people want to hear is some action, rather than incremental changes here and there, squeezing off supply of engines from China, new boats from German warehouses, something dramatic. Now, the populists left and right right have answers. The populist left have rejoined the European Union. He says that's a bad idea, which is amazing.
The arch remainer.
Yeah, arch remainer.
Consider
he says we want to go into the EU when they want to have us.
Yeah.
We're going there back to the EU currently in a supplicant position. Please take us. Here's billions of pounds. It's just, he's just completely nailed it, frankly, in an analysis of how this government's gone wrong and how to put it right. And do whatever it takes is interesting because ECHR, withdrawing from the European Convention of Human Rights, is what the Tories and Reform have as their magic bullet. But both left and right have magic bullets. On the left, it's Brexit, rejoin the European Union. On the right, I think it's ECHR withdrawal, neither of which might work. But just even if Starmer went some way towards the drama, the showing intent, the passion, that might help him in the polls.
And curious, the response from the government, nothing.
No, interesting, isn't it? I was reading
Silence.
that. Well, it's worth reading it out, their right of reply. We do have Dan Tomlinson on earlier from the Treasury. We'll have him in the next hour. But the spokesman says the result of the decisions this government has made, NHS waiting lists are down, serious violent crime is down, net migration is down, economy living standards were growing before the start of the Iran conflict, obviously in February. There's much more we can do. We're getting on with the job. I mean, I think they can't really have a row with the most successful Labour politician in history, can they? So they've got a problem there.
We had somebody from the Tony Blair Institute on earlier, Brian Wayne, who's the policy and political director. And I did say, come on, he's got his own responsibility here for the massive increase in immigration. It started on Blair's watch. He was getting into that, and it did.
Because Blair allowed the A8 countries, first of all, then the A2 countries, which Bulgaria and Romania, to come in, and then he told us, actually, it'd be tens of thousands coming, and it was millions.
It was.
The Home Office weren't really clear.
And he was warned to bring in limits, and he ignored
it as being a good European at the time. Yeah, he's been on a journey.
Yeah.
And so has everyone. So has Nigel Farage back then. I mean, everyone's been on journeys in politics. But this is absolutely stinging.
But nobody's going to listen in Number 10, are they? Or are they?
No, well, I think some of the thoughtful ones would. I mean, Morgan McSweeney would listen to it. I think he's gone out the door, though he's back revising Keir Starmer, reportedly. But, yeah, I think the people who might be leader, Angela Rayner, she'll dismiss it as, Blair.
He attacks her as well.
Yeah.
Not by name, but workers' rights, Bill.
I mean, I think it's a wake-up call for this government, whether it listens. But the timing is so clever and so important.
They're never going to listen. Christopher Hope, thank you very much. Moving on. Millions of households are facing another energy bill blow as Ofgem confirms prices will rise again from July, which means that your bill will increase by about £18 per month. That's £220 per year.
Well, let's talk to the head of policy at the Global Warming Policy Foundation, Harry Wilkinson. Harry, morning. Ed Miliband has quickly blamed, the Net Zero Secretary has blamed the war in Iran for why the energy cap's going up, but a lot of this is to do with our policies on green taxes.
It is. I mean, those short-term changes, no doubt, have come from increased costs for gas that we've been paying because of the Iran war, but that is sitting on baked-in rises because of green policy costs over a sustained period of time. Let's remember, just in April, the government actually took off a bunch of renewable energy subsidies from bills and put it onto taxpayers. Those costs didn't go away, they got shifted around. But even still, that barely budged energy bills. So we're sitting on this massive cost burden. And it's a complete delusion to say, Ed Miliband has no choice in this. We put a carbon tax on top of the wholesale prices that we pay, known as the emissions trading scheme. That adds another big wedge. There's things that Miliband could do tomorrow that would ease the suffering that people are feeling, and also revitalise the British economy. We have some of the most expensive business energy bills in the developed world. This is holding us back. It's stopping us realise those opportunities from AI and grasping the jobs of the future. And I think, one of the most important things that Tony Blair pointed to was net zero. And if you put a constraint on the economy, which is net zero, an emissions limit, how can you grow faster than an economy without that constraint? So, if there was anyone being the energy secretary in the country today, they would surely be promoting a more pragmatic approach than Ed Miliband. We've ended up with the worst possible person for the job who just can't see pragmatism. He can't see those easy wins that would be, opening up North Sea oil and gas, scrapping the emissions trading scheme. These are things that would boost growth from day one tomorrow, but he's not doing them.
But they'd argue that this is because we are tied to a global market that they have no control of. So therefore, we kind of move with the global market, and there's no wiggle room in a sense, or nothing that our government, who are powerless, can do.
Well, this is my point. There are some things that are outside of our control, but there are many things that are within our control. And so many of the costs that consumers face are because of policy decisions that Ed Miliband is taking. The whole world is reining back from net zero, reining back from, hard-nosed decarbonisation policies towards a more pragmatic, flexible approach. Britain is less than 1% of global emissions. And actually, if we want to promote a strategy that other people will copy, we need to have cheap electricity. Then you can decarbonise transport. Then you can decarbonise home heating. All those things become more difficult if you have really expensive electricity prices.
And only last week, despite the Prime Minister's wheeze of words, effectively we're starting to get stuff that's energy that's originated in Russia. So we're giving all that money to Ukraine, and now we're bankrolling Putin's war against Ukraine.
It's just horrific to see what's happening in Ukraine, and we should be taking a moral stance on that. But we're so weak. We've hollowed out our industrial capacity, our energy security, so we're having to make these horrible choices because otherwise we wouldn't have planes taking off from the runway. These are the awful decisions that net zero is imposing on the country.
So if you were currently, making decisions, you said there are things and tweaks that we could put into place to help the consumer. What would you advise the government to do?
Well, I think we need to restructure the electricity market in particular so that competition can come into play to get bills down. At the moment, renewables are intermittent. They don't always work, and we have to have backup. But there's no market signals which prioritise firm power that you can rely upon. If we brought those market signals into play, we could use competition to get those prices down. But Ed Miliband's priority is not on getting prices down. No, it's on cutting emissions, and that alone.
So annoying.
He's a zealot.
Yeah. Net zero zealot. Harry Wilkinson, not you. Thank you very much. He's head of policy at the Global Warming Policy Foundation.
Now, speaking this morning, the Energy Secretary, Ed Miliband, did say this. Nana, what did he say?
The rise in the price cap because of a war we did not choose is deeply unwelcome news for the households across the country.
People were under pressure before the crisis, and that's why we are easing the burden. Easing the burden is our #1 priority. There we are, then.
All right, well, he has spoken. Well, friends of GB News, you can vote in our poll today. It's free. You scan the QR code on the screen, or you can visit gbnews.com/you decide.
And this morning we're asking, are you worried about rising energy bills? I think we all know the answer to that. Get in touch and let us know. But first, it's time for the Great British Giveaway, and there's still plenty of time to win that whopping £76,543.21. Here's how you do it.
£76,543.21 in tax-free cash could be yours this summer. That's totally tax-free cash to spend on anything you like. What would you spend it on? Treat the family and friends to the ultimate summer party, or just relax with enough cash in the bank to make this year your best yet. And remember, because it's totally tax-free cash, you'll get to keep every single penny. So, what are you waiting for? For a chance to win £76,543.21 in tax-free cash, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB21 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 26th of June. This is a network giveaway. Entries will be pooled. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Well, good luck indeed. Up next, has London Mayor Sir Sadiq Khan launched a fresh new war on the motorists by banning cars from 200 roads across the capital to encourage more active travel, whatever that means.
But he's turned London into a car park.
That's just ridiculous.
I mean, the average speed is 10 miles an hour. Incredible. And walk quicker. Well, we go through that and more with Stephen Pound, a former Labour MP, of course, who's probably no doubt a cheerleader for Sadiq Khan, and the middle-aged babe magnet himself, Mr. Mike Parry. This is Britain's Newsroom on GB News.
At the stroke of midnight, the news doesn't stop, and neither do we.
Day in, day out. Forget stuffy late night TV shows. We're giving you a front row ticket to the centre of the political universe.
Because breaking news doesn't wait for the morning.
And neither do we. Join us for one of the most controversial and volatile times of politics in human history.
A very big story.
Big story over here.
You won't get this anywhere else. The Late Show live at midnight, every night.
Only on GB News.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
no,
isn't it?
No,
Because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back,
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
and we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes and Kerr weeknights at 6 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
From cold mornings
to warm family brunches,
from football to tennis in the car,
in the kitchen.
GB News Breakfast is there with the stories you need and the conversations that matter.
Anyway, let's talk business.
Well, it has been a historic night in British politics.
It's astonishing, isn't it?
We're here again to start your day just right. GB News Breakfast.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on GB News.
Britain's news channel.
What's the time? The time is 11:25. This is Britain's Newsroom live across the UK with Andrew and Nana Acquia. We are joined by the former Labour MP Stephen Pound and the journalist and broadcaster Mike Parry. Mike, we've had these nice messages keep coming in about you.
Well, it's terribly kind, and I want to thank everybody for taking the interest, you know, and once again I want to emphasise everything's under control, it's going to be good, 95% chance of total success, so thank you everybody, I'll keep you posted.
Because Mike is fighting, as you'd expect, skin cancer.
That's right. He's got a couple of plasters on his face. Some people might want to know why. A few messages for you, Mike, about your fight against cancer. Katie says, great to see you back. Wish you well. Mary says, goodness, Mike, glad you are in good spirits. Wishing you a very speedy recovery. All the best, Maria says. We are with you, Mike. Sending you lots of well.
That's Katie, Mary,
lovely.
Maria.
Yeah.
Oh, there's a pattern here.
Ladies.
There's a pattern.
Middle-aged babe magnet.
They might not be
Pound is
middle-aged.
jealous.
Exactly, there it goes. But so very kind of them. But of course, you have the normal worries of life even when you're in my position. And fantastic broadcasting over the weekend from GB News about people pouring onto the beaches again on the south coast of England. And yet, on no other news channel did I see a single report of it last night at the end of the bank holiday. And this morning, only your paper, the Daily Mail, have bothered to relate the fact that nearly 1,000 people came here illegally over the course of the 3-day bank holiday. I think it's an absolute disgrace, and I'm terribly worried that in this country we are now getting blasé about people coming to our country uninvited and costing us something like, now did you say, £8 million a day to accommodate them here, and if it keeps going on and on and on, where will it all end?
Poundy?
Well, the reality is we've had 4 weeks of very, very low cross-channel immigration, but the reality is...
That's because of the weather.
Exactly. No, the weather it wasn't bad 4 weeks ago. But look, the reality is that immigration to this country is declining massively from the Boris wave when we had 2 million. Now, what's happening, though...
Those are the legal channels.
The optics of these people coming, particularly the young men, you know, from...
Economic migrants.
Is terrible. I entirely agree with that. But we're finally getting a grip, and we're actually having
to
take people out of hotels into dispersal.
1,000 in one weekend?
Yeah.
You say we're getting a grip? How is that a grip?
Just because they're going...
damn sight less than it was.
Just because they're going from migrant camps or wherever they were to be dispersed in the community, that's not a good thing.
It's a worse thing, Nana. HMOs means that you could live in a nice little suburban town and suddenly find that the 4-bedroom house next door is suddenly occupied by people who don't speak English from a foreign country who do not follow our culture. Now, Stephen says, it's going down and all that.
It is.
Through the legal channels, when people came here, even though it was very high, they might have been the relatives of somebody who had a student visa, or they might have been the relatives of somebody who came here with a medical qualification. So they would have been accommodated in houses, in lodgings or whatever. The people landing on the beach have to be given homes. They have to be given money. They have to be given facilities. They have to be given the benefit of the National Health Service. That's why it is so critical for us to stop it, because they're overwhelming it. And what I'm saying is, I've been putting money into this country for 70 years. I built hospitals, I built roads, I built our social security service, and somebody else is draining it unfairly.
I'm sorry, Mark, have you ever heard of this thing called no recourse to public funds? If you are a person in this country who doesn't have permanent status in this country, you have no recourse to public funds.
The NHS?
You get £68 a week. £68 a week.
Well, that's public funds.
Public funds. It might not be very much.
Hold on, what I'm saying is you're not entitled to use the health service, you're not entitled to education, you're not entitled to health. Only in cases of absolute extreme emergency.
And how do you
also,
define
if
that?
there's a question of infection. But look, let's get one thing straight. The idea that these people crossing the channel are actually getting a free ride forever is something that was true. It is
Why
no
are they
longer
still
true.
coming in such large numbers? Because we are a soft touch.
Well, no, you could say...
We are.
I just don't see that. Don't forget, benefits are higher in France and in Germany than they are in this country. So why aren't they staying...
No. The President of France actually said, Stephen, the reason why we ship them over to you is because they want to come to the United Kingdom because there are too many pull factors.
Well, no, partly because of the language issue, and also because we have a great tradition of in those countries like Pakistan and Nigeria, where a lot of people actually, the Brits were there first. So there is an association, and it's a language association.
Oh, come on, Steve. Really, seriously. They're coming for the benefits. They know they're going to be...
But if you get more benefits in France...
No, if you go to Greece, because I was in Greece a little while ago, the Greeks said we actually detained them, and we're detaining them from stopping them from coming to you, because they detain them in things like tents. And when they get to Greece, the people want to leave Greece so they can come to a nice HMO in the UK.
Well, Greece had the highest number of immigrants into the European Union, particularly through the Turkish route. They've
Not
stopped
anymore.
that now. No, they've stopped because they have the blessings of it. They can actually use the land border with the problem and the small islands off the coast of Turkey. We don't have that luxury, but we are getting a grip on it. But at the moment, it's indefensible. I entirely agree.
We're not getting it.
Blair said in that 5,700 book, do whatever it takes. What are they doing? What are they doing?
What they're doing...
They're giving French money, which they are not... And we had photographs this week in the newspapers of the French policemen asleep in their police cars on the beach.
We're deporting people. And don't forget, the cross-channel crossings, particularly from France, from Gravelines, are virtually finished now because...
No, because they're coming from Belgium.
Yeah, exactly.
They've suddenly decided, let's go up the coast. It's even better.
Mike, you've just made the case. They're
they're
coming
still
from Belgium
coming.
because cooperation with the French plot have moved me up the coast to the much more dangerous part, a much wider channel. And it's more dangerous.
Yvette Cooper's original mantra, we'll smash the gangs. I tried to say at the time, don't you understand, that people smuggling around the world is probably the most lucrative lucrative industry in the world after the drugs trade, OK? And billions and billions of pounds involved. So when Yvette Cooper piped up, I'm going to smash the gangs, some guy in France, another guy in Somalia, holding a machine gun, was probably shaking in their boots, thinking that Yvette Cooper is going to smash my business. We knew it would never happen, and it never has. And it goes on and on and on.
Have a look at the people who've been arrested. The 3 big Kurdish gang leaders who are responsible for about 25% of the channel crossings last year are all in British prisons now.
Yeah, but it's not stopping people coming, because the minute they take one of them out, somebody else fills the gap, because it's such a lucrative business.
Just get
Indeed it is. And we have
get the dinghies and punch the lot of them.
Yeah, exactly.
Send them back to France.
There is no way on God's green earth anybody would actually break the law of the sea. If you see somebody that, if you have to do that, they would simply puncture their dinghy, as you rightly say, and they would be in the water, and any British matler, any British sailor would then rescue them. That is the law of the sea.
He's not talking about puncturing the boat when they're mid-channel.
No,
he's
when they
talking
put it
about
in the beach. But the French have done that. That's why
They've done
They
what?
did it once for the benefit of the TV cameras.
Exactly, they did it once, Joe. Look how tough we are. Those boats, by the way, are getting so big that we'll soon be able to solve the Royal Navy lack of ships problem by using the boats that they're coming over in.
Look,
I mean, for goodness sake.
Hang on a sec. We've also stopped the idea of these engines for these RIBs were being made in China, and that's now been stopped. Maybe because they're stuck in the Strait of Hormuz.
But why are they still coming? Why are they still coming? Who else is providing the engines?
In a weekend. 1,000 in a weekend. You say we're getting a grip.
And not being reported by some of the other major cities.
It's been even worse.
Just think of 1,000 people. That's 254 bedroom houses, right? Somewhere in this country are now going to have to accommodate those people.
Mike, you're going to get all the love pouring into. I'm going to get all the hate pouring into me. I think that's probably a fair balance.
Well, the thing is, Stephen, you either got it in life or you haven't.
Yeah, and on that bombshell, we'll leave it there. Mike Parry, Stephen Pound, thank you very much. Let's get your 60-second update with Tatiana Sanchez.
Thank you very much. The top stories. Household energy prices will rise by 13% a year in July as soaring wholesale costs caused by the US-Israel war with Iran hits bills. Ofgem says a household using a typical amount of gas and electric will pay over £220 more a year. Sir Tony Blair has accused Sir Keir Starmer of having no plan to fix Britain as he launched an attack on the Labour leader's record in office. The former Prime Minister argued the government needs a fundamental reset after retreating into a left-wing comfort zone, he says. The UK record for the hottest May Day has been broken for a second day running as part of London surpassed 35 degrees. That's as a body has been found in a search for a 12-year-old boy who went missing while swimming in a river. The boy was with friends when he got into difficulty in the River Ribble in Lancashire yesterday afternoon. Those are the latest headlines for now. More in half an hour.
Tune in to GB News Radio wherever you are. Online, on DAB Digital Radio, on TuneIn, on Radio Player, on Nation Player and on your smart speaker. Just say, play GB News.
Up at noon, Good Afternoon Britain with Tom and Emily. What are you talking about on the show today?
The King is planning to chemically castrate grey squirrels.
No.
Yeah, it's...
You weren't expecting that, were you?
I think this is fantastic news for anyone that appreciates our indigenous red squirrel population. The King is backing an initiative by the Animal and Plant Health Agency, which he visited yesterday.
I've never even heard of it.
Where they've got a site in Yorkshire where the King was yesterday, where he met with scientists and researchers who are working on this new oral contraceptive method for grey squirrels, which is in effect chemical castration.
Right.
Oh, to be a royal, and worry yourself with such things.
Yes. There's Prince William trying to sort the housing crisis out, but the King has another priority.
I think people do really care about squirrels.
Yeah, I wonder what people have to make of the castration element.
I think it's an emotive term, but I mean, ultimately...
It's a very emotive term.
Ultimately, it's just trying to stop grey squirrels breeding so much, and they're just outbreeding the red squirrel population. Red squirrels have retreated over decades.
Have you got any news about people?
No,
The king is a person.
Squirrels, though, man.
Well, Ed Miliband very much doubling down on this whole net zero drive, isn't he? Saying that that's the solution to higher bills, blaming it all on the Iran war. We're going to dig into that and find out if what he's saying is absolute nonsense or if he's absolutely 100% correct. So we'll find out.
And, of course, a moon base, which NASA announced many
Another
details
thing.
of yesterday.
All the good stuff.
Emily, you'll never get him off that subject.
I know, every show there is something about space.
But we're going to have moon landings, robotic moon landings, this year to start the preparations for this moon base. It's going to be built right throughout the next... up until 2032 is when there's going to be a sort of sustained presence.
And then Nana and I can send you up there.
Yeah, I was just thinking that. I think you would love to go, wouldn't you? You'd like that.
It might be a little early for me, but, you know...
Really?
Well, by the 2050s, maybe
You're
it'll be
scared
much
cat.
more regular. Well, I mean, for example, we've had a sustained human presence in the International Space Station since the year 2000, and that's been sort of orbiting Earth. And despite having had that for, 26 years, a sustained human presence there, we don't have that many people going as professional astronauts and absolute billionaires.
We are also going to be having a debate about Birmingham City Council. Have you seen that Reform councillors are very angry because a reading from the Quran was recited in Arabic at the start of one of their meetings, and they're saying only English should be allowed in our council halls. We're going to be having a debate on that.
Interesting. That's an very interesting debate.
All right, well, lovely.
Fascinating. And don't forget, the king and castration. You never thought you'd hear that on GBNews. All that and more at midday. Now up next.
As Britain sizzle in the hottest day temperatures ever recorded, experts warn huge thunderstorms are about to strike.
This is Britain's Newsroom on GB News.
Oh, thanks.
Hello there, welcome to your latest GB News weather update brought to you from the Met Office. The heatwave continues today across the southwest in particular. It will be a somewhat cooler day across the east because we have got more easterly winds moving in. So that's going to bring in more cloud as well as some cooler air from the North Sea to many eastern areas. Across the west, though, another warm and sunny day. It's going to be hotter than it has been lately across parts of Northern Ireland and western Scotland. The highest temperatures are expected to be across the southwest into the low 30s here, but this could allow some thunderstorms to break out later on this afternoon. But across the east, where we do see these easterly winds, temperatures just in the high teens, low 20s, so a fresher day. It is going to be warmer again tomorrow in these areas, however. Then into this evening, it remains dry for much of the UK, particularly across northern areas. Clear skies for much of northern and western Scotland. This cloud still lingering across eastern and central areas. A clear end to the day, though, for Northern Ireland. It's going to be a warm night tonight for parts of Northern Ireland and western Scotland. These risk of thunderstorms continues to push further north into this evening. Not everyone's going to see a thunderstorm, but if you do get caught in one, it brings a risk of lightning as well as some large hail, so it's something to keep an eye on through the rest of today. So a bit more cloud around through tonight. It will be slightly cooler for parts of England and Wales than it has been, but still very much above average temperatures in the high teens, possibly just into 20 degrees across the far south coast. So a warm start to the day. A bit more cloud across the southwest. You can see some mist and murk here across parts of Cornwall, southwest Wales as well. That should linger through much of the day. Whereas further north and east, it's going to be a warmer, a hotter and sunnier day once again. So although the sunshine will be a little bit hazy, temperatures climbing back into the 30s across the southeast. So the warmth returns tomorrow. Bye-bye.
5 hosts, 5 opinions, 5 fearless debates, 5 unfiltered takes on the day's news.
5 reasons not to be anywhere else on Saturday night.
This is the Saturday 5. You got me good there. Britain's biggest Saturday night TV show.
It's not a bad brand.
Yeah. Uncensored.
Very, very racy tonight.
On the unpredictable.
What did she say? Can you translate it for us?
And always entertaining.
And how can a country go from being led by William Wallace
Saturday nights from 6 p.m. only on GB News, the People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
You're going to want to stay tuned, trust me.
As soon as it hits 11 and the headlines come in,
The Late Edition brings you the breaking news from all the front pages.
because the news is going to happen.
So get a head start today.
Patrick Christie's tonight, late edition.
Alex Armstrong tonight, Late Edition. From 11 o'clock every night.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
time is 11:40. This is Britain's Newsroom on GB News with Andrew and Nana.
Well, and across the UK, record hottest day May. That was broken for a second day running as parts of London surpassed 35 degrees Celsius.
So we're going to get more extreme weather today as there's now a yellow warning for thunderstorms in the east of England. Let's speak to the legendary meteorologist John Ketley. John, morning. Do we really need an amber warning?
Well, 3 fine days in a thunderstorm, isn't that the expression you probably heard doing at O levels, geography O level? It's the sort of thing that we often get in this country. We do get some hot weather, we do get heat waves. Yesterday, of course, was extreme, 35 degrees, but eventually thunderstorms did kick off yesterday, notably from Shropshire across the North Midlands into Northamptonshire and Leicestershire during the evening, and some places did catch an absolute deluge. The rain never stopped for about 3 or 4 hours, and there were probably reports of 40 or 50 millimetres of rain up around Oakham and that sort of area during yesterday. And now this morning, the storms are back with us, some developing now around Plymouth, and new storms also sitting over the top of Bedford. And those storms are also very slow moving, so we're getting a lot of surface water coming down with these downpours of rain. As we've mentioned, of course, the heat is still with us, but it's not in the same place as it's been over the past few days. It is now across Wales and the West Country, so that's where you can probably expect more big storms as we go through the rest of the day. And it's probably going to be 31 or 32 degrees in parts of the southwest today.
You know, when this was predicted, they said, oh, it'll be 5 days of really hot weather. No thunderstorms were predicted at all. But surely that's obvious that you'd get thunderstorms with this sort of weather. There was no suggestion that there would be anything like that at all.
I think you're absolutely right, Nana. It took a long time for the Met Office to get their act together and start talking about thunderstorms. You know, they don't issue warnings several days ahead. They might tell us there's going to be an amber alert for health reasons, which is perfectly acceptable, of course. But it was always inevitable, as you can see from the computer models that I was watching, that thunderstorms would break out eventually, especially yesterday evening. And there was still no sign of a warning until probably the whites of the eyes were starting to show up. So, yeah, warnings did get issued yesterday eventually, and we are seeing more today. But it is part and parcel of summer weather. Well, it isn't even strictly summer, of course. It just feels like the middle of summer at the moment. But you do get these thunderstorms when you get the hot weather. Forecasts have been very reliable, generally speaking, about the hotter weather coming in, but thunderstorms should have always been included as well.
Yeah.
And how long, and John, are we going to get another hot spell? I mean, it's still warm anyway, if it's going to be 31 degrees in the southwest.
Yeah. Yeah, the warmer weather is actually starting to move northeast again through tonight and through tomorrow. So as far as Thursday's concerned, even though it's cooled down a little bit across eastern Britain today, certainly feels a lot fresher. Well, these higher temperatures are moving east again, so we are going to see temperatures closing in on 30 degrees across the London area and up into the Midlands, and even Scotland will be nearer 26 degrees, I would think, on Thursday afternoon. So the hotter weather is moving east again, but inevitably, yes, as we've said, heavy downpours of rain and thunderstorms are likely. I think over the weekend there will be a moderation of temperature.
Very briefly, El Nino, I've heard that being bandied about. Are we heading for one of those, and what is it? Oh, have we lost him?
The southern latitude, more into the Pacific, really. It does exist, and it's coming and going quite regularly these days. It's more of an effect over parts of, say, the United States and the southern hemisphere than it would be in northwestern Europe. So we keep hearing about El Nino. It does change the patterns around the world, but it's much more effective further south than where we are.
All right, John Ketley, thank you very much. Legend.
He is a legend. He is a legend, John Ketley. Now, up next, we're going to reveal the latest way Labour is planning to make your train commutes much more enjoyable. And let me give you a clue. It's not about making them run on time. No. Sadly.
No, sadly not. But first, if you fancy some holiday sunshine elsewhere across Europe, here are the forecasts.
You're looking happy.
Well, the forecast looks good.
So you've sorted the travel insurance then?
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Hello there. The temperatures may start to fall across the UK over the coming days, but it remains hot across central and western parts of Europe. Here, a heat wave continues. Sunny spells across the Canary Islands, temperatures approaching 30 Celsius, the mid-30s for parts of Spain and Portugal, cooler around the coast. That will lead to the risk of some thunderstorms on Thursday across parts of Italy, perhaps Greece as well, and temperatures here above average. And it remains on the hot and sunny side as well.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
From cold mornings
to warm family brunches,
from football to tennis, in the car,
in the kitchen,
GB News Breakfast is there.
with the stories you need and the conversations that matter.
Anyway, let's talk business.
Well, it has been a historic night in British politics.
It's astonishing, isn't it?
We're here again.
to start your day just right. GB News Breakfast,
Every morning from 6 a.m.
only on GB News.
Britain's news channel.
Good afternoon, Britain. Weekdays from midday.
Hello, Tom.
Who's this?
I don't know much about you, but I've seen you on TV and I don't think I like you. Only joking, give us a hug, mate.
Oh, amazing. Hello. Oh, fantastic. That is, goodness me. So how long have you had this particular bear?
Well, this one's called RR Bear. That stands for a car name. It was given to me after certain... Well, we won't go into what happened with it. But anyway, I have two of these. This is the male version, and then the female version is there because she's found love. With another bear called Mafia Bear. I don't know what... Do we have the picture, Lulu, as our producer? Because they found love.
Now, I find... we had this discussion this morning before we came in, and I was thinking, gosh, well...
You can't see him!
He's been decapitated by our
there you go.
also banner. Now,
he's not happy about that.
Now, I suppose we should ask everyone at home, do you have a teddy bear? Are you sort of living out your Brideshead Revisited idea of adulthood? I have to say I did have teddy bears growing up, but I don't have any of them with my in my house in London.
Did your family take them away from you?
No. They are all very happily in my childhood bedroom.
Oh, no, so cute.
But back up in Cambridge rather than here in London.
I used to have my favourite teddy bear was called Pandy, and my parents tried to get rid of it because it turned out I was allergic to it because it was contaminated with house dust. And they took it to the jumble sale, the school jumble sale, and I actually went to the jumble sale and bought it back.
Wow.
And I thought I had two. Mark White.
Well, our very own teddy bear in the studio.
No, Mark White, he's a teddy bear. That little Scottish teddy bear. Do you have a teddy bear? You have
Come and give your grandpa a couple.
You have
I had an elephant.
And what was your elephant called?
Chunky?
Just elephant.
GB News, the People's Channel.
I've been in Westminster for a long time, but I know that though power may be here, its effect on people's lives is across the whole of the country. We may be where rules are made, but it's where they're implemented that matters. Join me, Jacob Rees-Mogg, for forthright and frank discussion on where Britain has come from, where it's going, and where it will end up. That's State of the Nation, Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock. Vox Populi, Vox Dei.
Well, this is good news for frequent travellers. On the trains, rail passengers will soon be able to stream videos, download files, join video calls, and have plans to overhaul Wi-Fi services across Britain.
Heidi Alexander, the Transport Secretary, is set to announce the plans this summer, and the first trains will be upgraded within months.
So, is it going to make a big difference? Let's talk to the man who knows everything about train travel. That is travel expert Simon Calder. Simon, morning to you, and always lovely to see you, Simon. How badly needed is this shake-up of Wi-Fi? Because it can be very hit and miss depending on which train company you're using.
It is absolutely, Andrew, desperately needed, as I'm sure many, many viewers who are used to travelling up and down the country will confirm. Time on trains is not going to get suddenly reduced because, of course, you were reporting last week that, suddenly HS2 isn't going to be around for another decade. So therefore, it's really important to make the most of time spent on trains. And a very good way to do that is to ensure that people are well connected. At the moment, no surprises here, they are generally not. And so what is proposed, and the government's, interestingly, perhaps been a little quiet about the fact that this involves Elon Musk's Starlink enterprise. But basically, the plan is to connect trains to that and to have another bit of the project called Project Reach, which is a system where you have fibre optic cables laid in tunnels and in deep cuttings, sorts of places that even Elon Musk's satellite signal can't get to. And then you should have pretty good connectivity across quite a lot of the country. And crucially, it shouldn't make too much difference how many people are on your train. At the moment, for instance, I'm speaking to you from London Liverpool Street, and I know that on a quiet day, the Stansted Express, for example, has very good connectivity, but many other trains, I was travelling on GWR at the weekend, packed trains, and basically you had to give up and just try and use your phone, which of course then leads to other problems because getting a phone signal on a moving train is also difficult.
Do you know, given all the issues that the train network suffers with, you know, and there's all these maintenance and this and that, does this really feel like top priority? A lot of us can get onto Wi-Fi using our phones without our own, you know, on our own networks.
Yes, I think it really is important as something to try to reduce the billions of pounds in subsidy that taxpayers are paying each year to keep the railways running, because if you can attract more people on board, then you cut that subsidy. And it's a really good way to get people out of their cars. If you take a journey such as Manchester to London, about 4 hours by car, but if you say to people, it'll only take basically just a bit over 2 hours, and you will have fantastic connectivity all the way. So whether you want to stream GB News or whether you want to actually, like me, pretend to do some work, it's going to be a much, much better proposition. So I think people will be welcoming this. The thing is, how long is it going to take? There's reports that it could take 5 years.
Whoa.
I think we need it quite a lot quicker than that. And of course, the other problem is that it's all going to be pretty patchy, because some trains it will work great, some it won't. And certainly talking to people on using the trains, the list of operators where the Wi-Fi is actually regarded as quite good is quite short, LNER basically, and the list where it's terrible is very, very long.
Wow.
Fascinating, Simon. Simon Calder, always great to talk to you, but 5 years.
I know,
mean,
5 years.
This lot won't even be in power in 5 years' time. We'll have a general election in the next 2 to 3 years.
I mean, it's absolutely absurd, isn't it? They come out with this. Oh, we're going to do the Wi-Fi. This is a distraction. It's got to be. But, yeah, it's going to take 5 years. Why? Why? Surely not.
Ordinary.
Yeah, it's very bad, isn't it?
Raises our spirits, doesn't it? There we are. But I suspect a lot of you listening and watching were thinking, like we do, can we just get them to make the trains run on time?
Get them running on time.
Maybe cut the price a little bit. That's it from Britain's Newsroom. What a pleasure it's been to be with Nana. Always a pleasure. Up next, though, it's Good Afternoon Britain with Tom and Emily, and I'll see you tomorrow with Miriam.
Well, we're looking at energy today. The Ofgem energy price cap is, of course, going back up. And what else? Well, the Conservatives say that there are restrictions on buildings having air conditioning. Do we need just a different approach to how we heat and cool our homes?
Yes, I imagine there are a lot of our viewers who are in new build homes, which are very, very warm indeed.
Warm.
Keep the heat in, but you actually need air conditioning on days like this. Do get in touch throughout the show. We'll be back in a sec.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello there, welcome to your latest GB News weather forecast. High pressure still holding on for most of us today. Plenty of sunny spells, the risk of a few thundery showers and a little cooler for most of us. Those temperatures still above average. Some low cloud this morning across eastern Scotland, stretching down into eastern parts of England too. A bit of a northeasterly breeze here through the day, but the clouds should lift and break. Elsewhere, plenty of sunshine, but we could see some clouds bubbling up into the afternoon. The risk of some showers across parts of Wales, the West Midlands in particular. In the southwest, we'll see temperatures reaching the low 30s, but much cooler towards the north and east, around 14 to 15 Celsius along some eastern coast, so chillier compared to recent days. Into this evening time, the risk of further showers, but if we zoom into